He couldn't. The long night was finally over. And then also fell asleep. Bai Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief for the time being. But my heart is more determined. I must go to the inspection of the city. The sooner the better. It's just Curtis's attitude that makes him feel uncertain. He wondered whether to turn to him for help. Until one day, he made up his mind. It was a sunny morning. After the morning dew dries thoroughly. Bai Qingqing carried an into the blacksmith room to find Parker. In the calorimeter, the heat of the iron room is like a stove. Parker was young, but the work is very serious. Bai Qingqing came, and he didn't find out, until the person next to him reminded Parker, "Your partner is here." Parker immediately looked up. Only then did he discover the existence of Bai Qingqing. Wondering how he got here, just when I wanted to go up and take him out. But I heard Bai Qingqing say that I want to go to Vincent. Maybe Vincent needs our help too. Let's go to the desert. The smile on Parker's face froze. Golden eyes. The sub is tightly locked to her partner's face. After a long silence, he nodded solemnly. The girl hit her head on a tree. The reason is that people can't laugh or cry. Parker was silent for a long time. He nodded solemnly. He took Bai Qingqing outside the house again. Said that the smell of smoke in the house was too strong. What about Curtis? Going to the desert is how he reacts. Seeing Qingqing shook her head, Parker went on to say that the snakes were cold-blooded. The more he loves you, the more selfish he becomes. I won't let you take risks for an. Let's go on our own. Curtis won't catch us. The desert has high daytime temperatures. It was inconvenient for him to travel. The temperature is very low at night. He will flood again. The time to chase us is very short. Don't be afraid of him. Bai Qingqing was a little displeased after hearing this. If we're all gone, leave Curtis alone. He's going to be sad. Parker turned his head and snorted. He's done this to you. You still care what he does. You have to think about it. If Curtis disagrees, none of us know what it will do. Bai Qingqing looked at Anin in her arms with some hesitation. He must not let Curtis hurt Anin. So he said to Parker, I'll think again. You go and strike iron. I'll make a decision in the evening. Parker touched his little head. Say softly, don't worry too much. Whatever you want to do, I will support you. Hear your partner support you unconditionally. Bai Qingqing was moved. He reached out and hooked Dopark's neck. Standing on tiptoe and kissing it gently, Parker's face exploded, and then deepened the kiss. After a kiss is over, Parker asked, breathless, Are you on a period? Bai Qingqing was a little surprised. No. I thought that I had only given birth to an for more than 6 months. Didn't wean either. I don't usually have a period. Orcs have a keen sense of smell. Parker is so easily emotional. 80% is really going to have a period. Parker carefully showed off on Bai Qingqing's body. I couldn't help but swallow. The hoarse voice said, Your taste is very tempting. He quickly shook his head. I want to sober myself up. Be sure to hold back. It wouldn't be good if Qingqing was pregnant with Sazai. Bai Qingqing was irritated and hit the big tree on the side. He really doesn't want to have a period. Parker was startled when he saw this. Immediately reach out and block it for him. Look at it. The man actually kidnapped his mother. Bai Qingqing hit her head on a piece. On the fiery palm. He raised Parker's hand apprehensively and examined it. But I heard Parker say that it was okay. Everyone else wants to have a period every day. Our family is good. Menstruation has become a troublesome wight. Qingqing blinked and said that this was originally a trouble. With us. There's no girl who doesn't hate this. But thinking about the 3 years he has been here, the number of menstrual periods is indeed only a handful. What a blessing. Parker gestured to the cotton field behind him. I'm going to pick some more white quilts for Qingqing. Bai Qingqing nodded. Tell Parker to step on it a little more, enough to step on for a year. So he was ready to take it home, and was reluctant to go back. He pouted and snorted. Parker wanted to send them home first. But I heard Bai Qingqing say, "I'll take it in to relax first. It's even more boring when he goes to the house." Then he said goodbye to Parker. I took it in for a walk alone. The leopards don't know where to run anymore. Bai Qingqing proposed to go to Aunt Jasmine's house to play. By the way, check out little Anna. Bloodsored and kicked his calf to show resistance. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to change her words. And then doesn't like Aunt Jasmine. Let's change places then. They walked around the tribe at will. Before you know it, you have walked out of the tribe. Bai Qingqing was still a little worried. But looking at Anne's mood is getting better and better. I didn't think much about it. Walking and walking. They entered the mouth of the cave where the little snake lived. Bai Qingqing stepped forward and called a little snake. A few more steps towards the cave, and I saw a red python, thin in the haystack, sparsely busy. As soon as I heard Bai Qingqing's call, the little snake immediately took on a human form. Bai Qingqing saw this. Tell him to go and put on the animal skin skirt first. The little snake hurriedly agreed, but just ready to go. I smelled a strange smell. He turned his head to sniff at Qingqing's body carefully. Bai Qingqing is strong. I wonder if I smell so big. Hurriedly reached out and knocked on the head of the little snake. Say you go get dressed. The little snake answered. Turn your head and swim towards the bottom of the cave. Bai Qingqing looked at the mess. Thought to the cave. The little snake lives in this cold cave every day. When the wind blew, all the miscellaneous things came in. Then I'll help him clean up. Come to think of this, he immediately started cleaning up. In a short time, the cave was cleaned. Turning his head, he saw the little snake come out. Bai Qingqing opened his mouth and asked, "Why have you been there for so long? Why haven't you worn a fur skirt yet?" The blood-spattered snake scratched its head. "So you don't know how to wear it." Bai Qingqing couldn't help but be filial. "Go and bring up the animal skin skirt. I'll help you. Mom could spend a little more time with you today. Or go dig out a nest of eggs. I'll give you steamed eggs to eat." The little snake said that he wanted to go out with Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing hesitated a little after hearing this, thinking that Parker didn't come today. It seems dangerous to go out. Let's go back next time. The little snake was a little disappointed when he heard this. But then there was a flash in his eyes. He slowly swam behind Bai Qingqing. With a raised hand, he knocked him unconscious. Just listen to the plop. Bai Qingqing fell to the ground before she could call for help. The man's heart ached so much that he almost choked. How deep the love is. How painful it is. As soon as the little snake raised its hand, it knocked Bai Qingqing to the ground. Then, Parker, who was stepping on white cotton, suddenly felt a tightening. A bad premonition arose. He immediately rushed towards Sherbang, thinking that Qingqing should be home. What can happen in the tribe? I must have thought too much. But when he came to the stone castle, I didn't see Bai Qingqing's figure. He looked at Curtis as if nothing had happened. And he didn't bother. Maybe it's because I'm too worried. I was going to go and find Bai Qingqing alone. There are only two clues he can rely on at the moment. One is Qingqing's footprints. One is telepathy between partners. But strangely, Parker followed the direction telepathically directed. I didn't see Qingqing's footprints all the time. Only then did he realize the seriousness of the matter. But when he reacted, already outside the tribe, there's still no clues at all. Qingqing must be in danger. But then go back and inform Curtis. It will be a lot of time delayed. Come to think of this, he gritted his teeth and left it alone. Instantly transformed into a beast, killed life in the direction of the stone fort. He chased the telepathic position. Run away at a fast pace. You have to find someone first. The roar reached the stone castle. Curtis woke up suddenly. He could hear it being Parker's voice. I wondered if something was wrong. Curtis immediately activated the energy in his body, sensing Xiaobai's breath. suddenly opened his eyes. Pupils constricted violently. He sensed that Xiao Bai's breath was far away from him. Far away. His heart suddenly became nervous. He searched all over the ministry like crazy. Fall in every corner. Shouted loudly for Xiao Bai. Where are you? Until all the places within the tribe will be. I've searched them all. Xiao Bai was also found. He lowered his eyes in disappointment. Remembered that Xiao Bai said that he was going to find Hun's son. There was a pang of pain in my heart. I couldn't help but tremble. I thought to myself, Xiao Bai, this is leaving himself. Don't do it yourself. Just when he was in pain and could barely breathe, immediately cheered up again. Because he won't allow it. You can't lose Xiao Bai. Come to think of this, he immediately transformed into an all-beast form. Rushed towards the speed of light in the direction of the sense. He must find Xiao Bai. Have you ever seen such a cute basilisk? It's all to blame for this damn imagination. Let him misunderstand his partner. He transforms into an all-beast form. Rush towards the speed of light in the direction of the sense. Just about to rush out of the tribe. But he heard the cry of a small beast behind him. When I looked back, it was Xiao Bai's 3 leopards. He immediately killed the running body, looking at the leopard in front of him in disbelief. I thought they were still at home. Xiao Bai is absolutely won't leave the cubs behind. Maybe I misunderstood. It turned out that Xiao Bai did not abandon himself. So where can he go? Then he quickly traveled in the direction of the sense. 3 leopard cubs saw this. We are having a pleasant discussion. Daddy Curtis, this is going to hunt. Then let's go home and wait for food. Look at the momentum. There will definitely be a lot of good food. And the other side of this time. Bai Qingqing slowly opened her eyes. What I saw was a completely unfamiliar environment. He was lying in a log cabin. The little snake saw that he was awake. Hurriedly stepped forward to hold his hand and said, You are awake. You'll call me Curtis from now on. Bai Qingqing was stunned when she heard this. Immediately slapped his hand away and said, What are you talking about? And why did you bring me here? I wondered what was wrong with this kid. Could it be that he was possessed by Curtis? The little snake looked at the hand that was slapped away by Bai Qingqing. Some displeasure. Then he stepped forward and cupped his face and said, Hee. I'm Curtis. Bai Qingqing was really angry this time. The backhand gave the little snake a slap in the face. Tell him to sober up. Then he turned his head. Only then did he notice that an in was also beside him. Hurriedly hugged an in into his arms. Seeing that he was safe, only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. He turned his head and glared at the little snake again. I don't know what it is. But what's even weirder is that the little snake can't. I have to leave here quickly with an in. He quickly got up and ran towards the door. A small snake after a workout. There is no intention of chasing and stopping. Just when he wondered. What you see is a huge ocean. There are also many mermaids swimming happily in it. Bai Qingqing didn't expect it. The little snake actually brought him to the merfolk clan. The little snake stepped forward and pointed to the lake. Say they won't hurt you. Look over there. Bai Qingqing looked in the direction of his finger. I saw a handsome one. The blond man walked out of the water and went ashore. This person Bai Qingqing knows. It is the love companion Jing. After the 2 men went ashore, bent over and helped the woman behind him slowly walk ashore. Love ashore. He lifted the hem of his skirt. With an angry face, he strode towards Bai Qingqing. This woman has 4 handsome partners. She walked slowly ashore. He lifted the hem of his skirt. With a murong on his face, he walked towards Bai Qingqing. Seeing that the people and elders around Qin were all vortex beasts, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but worry. Don't know about Curtis. Can one person fight 5 4-man beasts? It's a pity Vincennes wasn't there. It's really not going to end well. At the same time, as Bai Qingqing looked at the piano, Qin also looked at Bai Qingqing critically. It's been a long time since I've seen you in a haughty manner. Bai Qingqing was not shocked, smiled calmly, and said that it was a long time since I saw it. Qin was enraged by Bai Qingqing's peaceful attitude. The sweetness of the disguise faded from his face. Showing viciousness, you have hurt me so badly. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? After saying that, Qin said, the little snake pulled Bai Qingqing behind him, exposed to the piano under his chest. Qin was startled, hurriedly hid behind Kim. Kim is the same as any other mermaid. There is no emotion towards Bai Qingqing. There is no disgust and no favorability. It's like looking at ordinary people. He opened his mouth lightly. You don't have to worry. We will not break our promise with Curtis. Just stay here. Bai Qingqing heard Kim say Curtis. There are some doubts. But when he turned his head, he saw the little snake pointing at himself proudly. It was instantly clear. It turned out to be an agreement with the little snake. Thinking to himself, the enemy is now, so don't make trouble. Randomly turned his head and said to Qin, I am not afraid of you. Curtis will come to my rescue. I can fill him up right now, too. I'm talking about Curtis as his father. You should remember, Curtis came to me in an instant. Kim smiled when he heard this. He pointed to the small tongue on the side and said that he was there. You don't look at the little snake next to you. I really hesitated. If he summons Curtis at this moment, he will definitely kill the little snake immediately. Now, this is a gamble with the life of the little snake. It's despicable. Bai Qingqing immediately shouted, what do you want to do? He waved his hand proudly. Kill your mates one by one, of course. Your partner is killed. I am a mermaid of hundreds of thousands of people. Also killed my only land partner. I also want to give you a taste of what it's like to lose your partner. The man was furious. For the red face. Qingqing single-handedly wiped out the entire mermaid clan. Whoever hurts my woman, said very emotionally, I also want to give you a taste of what it's like to lose your partner. Bai Qingqing was also shocked when she heard this. He didn't know that Curtis had killed all the merfolk. I wonder if it was last time. Curtis sent himself ashore after that. Another trip to the sea. Said to solve the problem between him and Mermaidfoot. Originally, that time, he actually directly killed the mermaid's foot. Such a deep hatred. No wonder Qin has always refused. Excuse us for trouble. Qin Jian, Bai Qingqing didn't react at all. So quietly. It's like he's punched the cotton. No, I thought to myself, this is my home turf. He had to be more composed. So he waved his hand and said filial piety. For the sake of Curtis Jr. and the Golden Thrones deal. In the end, I won't kill you. With that, he took Kim's arm and turned around to leave. Bai Qingqing said in a disdainful, cold voice, Curtis is better than you. I'm afraid you won't be able to kill him. Xing waved his hand disappreciably. You don't have to worry about that. I advise you not to think about running away. The plants in this water are all water killers. Magnetically going into the water will die faster than a small fish. Bai Qingqing shrank back in surprise after hearing this. Can look at an in his arms. He immediately calmed down again. Thinking about it, and still needs to protect herself. I can't be afraid. So he carried an in and walked towards the lake. I want to test it. The little snake hurriedly stepped forward and pulled him away. There are a lot of times in the water. Bai Qingqing avoided his touch in disgust. Since learning about the little snake's thoughts, I didn't want to make contact with him. The little snake was also stunned. Only Bai Qingqing came into view. A disappointed expression. Strange after getting Bai Qingqing. There was no expected takesing. But then he thought he was Curtis. Xiaobai will get used to it one day. Curtis had won in the world. He stretched out his hand and said to Bai Qingqing, I just want to live with you. Those lonely days in the cave. Looking forward to one for I don't know how long. To see your deadline. I've had enough. Can you just stay with me? The red-haired man smiled wickedly, wrapped around the girl's waist from behind. He stretched out his hand and said to Bai Qingqing, "You stay with me." Good, no good. Bai Qingqing was in a dilemma. I thought I couldn't summon my partner right now. Let the little snake die. There is no way out of this isolated island. Just when he didn't know what to do. And then in her arms suddenly cried. The little hand clutched Bai Qingqing's closed tightly. Bai Qingqing hurriedly whispered to Anin not to worry. Mom, that's what you're thinking about. Now at a critical juncture. It's to find a way out. The little snake should not hurt itself. Anin, why don't you stay and find out? Then he walked to the cabin and started in it. The little snake squatted on the side and guarded them. Bai Qingqing's face was vigilant and wary of the little snake. Time passed slowly. Unconsciously, Bai Qingqing was already sweating all over. I didn't think of a place where the mermaid lived. It's so wet and dry. Hot, he gulped for hot air. Suddenly, I felt a cool breeze behind me. I saw the little snake, a large leaf picked from nowhere, fan the cool breeze for Bai Qingqing. Seeing this move, Bai Qingqing also understood. Seemingly, the little snake really didn't mean to hurt them. I'll have to ask myself about the situation quickly. So he asked the little snake, "What the hell is going on? How do you know a mermaid?" The little snake saw that he finally accepted himself. Immediately got up excitedly. Said, "Do you remember that strange fruit I ate? The fruit didn't just make me into a human form in advance. It also awakened me to the memory of reproduction in advance." With that, his eyes were stained with confusion, with an intoxicating lump of red on his face. Reaching out to touch Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing hurriedly turned around and dodged. "The atmosphere is there, so you arrested me." Unexpectedly, the little snake actually stopped him from behind. He has inherited all of Curtis's memories, including feelings for Xiaobai. He leaned close to Bai Qingqing's ear. Muttered Xiaobai, "I have all his memories. I'm Curtis." Bai Qingqing grabbed the little snake's arm hard. "I have long abandoned the zen of the heart, liver, and lungs." Intimate acts between a woman and her partner. They were all peeping on. When he learned, the woman grabbed the little snake's arm hard. The heart, liver, and lungs that were already angry trembled. He exerted all his strength. Finally pushed the little snake away. Hurriedly took a few steps back. I thought to myself that the little snake was very abnormal now. What the hell is wrong with him? Could it be the reproduction of memory? I couldn't help but look at it. The little snake which was inherited from him, and Curtis had all of her foster care before she gave birth to her child. Including the things I've done with Curtis. All of them were seen by the little snake. It's really embarrassing. And the little snake is still so young. My own subjective consciousness is not strong enough. That's why it's being manipulated by Curtis's memories. Come to think of this. Bai Qingqing hurriedly turned her head and said to the little snake, "Listen to me. You are not Curtis. Don't be controlled by legacy memories. He just lets you learn from the experience. I can find my partner better." It wasn't the little snake that interrupted Bai Qingqing's words loudly. Slowly walked towards him. Bai Qingqing slowly put down Anin in her arms. "Get up and think about when you were a kid. Your memory of Curtis's legacy ends with your birth. That's the best proof that you're not Curtis. Curtis was born without you. After experiencing those memory, after hearing this, the little snake emotionally denied that it was wrong. You're not right. It's not that the little snake doesn't understand. It's just that I don't want to understand. Because he wants to be Curtis. I want to have a white crystal." He clenched Bai Qingqing's small hand and continued, "Xiao Bai. I'm Curtis." Little Bai Qingqing saw the little snake coming over. In desperation, he used Parker's power. Knocked him to the ground. There was a loud bang. The little snake writhed. I exhaled in pain. Bai Qingqing listened to the little snake's painful voice, standing aside in a panic. I don't know what to do. Just as he hesitated to come forward and check. But I felt dizzy in my head. He fell down with a thud. Bai Qingqing only felt that her body collapsed for a while. Gradually, I fainted. In Parker at this time, I also felt that Qingqing used her own energy. Look up in the direction of the center of the lake. He sensed that Qingqing was there. The snake beast raised its tail and poked the leopard in front of it. Hey, it's dead. Parker looked up in the direction of the center of the lake. He sensed that Qingqing was there. So he jumped into the lake without hesitation. I want to swim to the opposite side. Unexpectedly, he just got out of the water. His body was entangled in stingers. Bloody marks were drawn on his body. Parker let out a howl, fluttering and swimming towards the shore. But the stinger can grow. Wrapped tightly around Parker's waist. Force him off and pull him underwater. Parker climbed to shore with all his might, only to sink into the deep earth. The blood stains were shocking. He must not let this fall. The thought of Qingqing was still waiting for her. He rekindled his fighting spirit. Hold on to a big tree in front of you and never let go. You can't stay on shore alone for too long. Seeing that he couldn't move Parker for a long time, I had no choice but to give up. Who was returned? At this time, Curtis also happened to be in time. He lifted the snake's tail and poked Parker. Hey. Dead no. Parker weakly reverted back to human form. Wailing in pain, pain. Don't poke me. Curtis turned to look at the island in the center of the lake. He knew that Xiaobai was there, just about to swim over. But Parker reminded him to be careful. The water is full of thorns, and it's highly toxic. I can't move anymore. Curtis hesitated for a moment. He put his tail into the water again and probed it. A moment in time. The tail was already scarred. Curtis didn't expect it. These plants are so small and dense. Even your own scales can't defend against it. What should I do if Xiaobai is entangled? At this time, Bai Qingqing was lying on the ground weakly. The little snake hurriedly climbed forward and cared about Xiaobai. Are you okay? I'll take you to lie down and rest. Bai Qingqing shook her head weakly. I don't know what the little snake is going to do. But when he saw the abnormal expression of the little snake, I can't help but worry. He wouldn't want to be like Curtis. Do you use the stray beast way? Absolutely not. The man knew that the water was dangerous, but he jumped without hesitation. Bai Qingqing looked at the little snake's abnormal expression. I'm worried that he'll pick you up the way a stray beast picks you up. He immediately turned around. Go and avoid the sight of the little snake. Change the subject. How did you get involved with these mare folks? They are not good people. The little snake wiped her lips. Recall it carefully. He ate that strange fruit. It didn't take long to meet King Yuan. Come on now. That fruit should have been induced by King Yuan to eat it. Bai Qingqing was a little worried after hearing this. Unexpectedly, he also had a relationship with King Yuan. I listened to the little snake go on again, but I didn't care. All I want is you. Then I woke up to the memories of reproduction. Realized that you can't get out of the tribal wall. So he went to them. Bai Qingqing thought of her other snake cubs. I don't know if they ate the fruit or not. The little snake shook his head. He didn't know this. After being thrown away by his father, and they all scattered. But if they want to rob Xiaobai, he killed them all. Bai Qingqing shrank in fright. I thought it was crooked. This son is completely crooked. That's it. Bai Qingqing lay on the bed and gradually fell asleep. The little snake was guarding him. Early the next morning, Bai Qingqing slowly got up. I touched my head, which was a little dizzy. Strength was finally restored. The little snake hurriedly stepped forward and said with concern, Are you all recovering? Let's stop lying down and sleeping. Bai Qingqing dodged the little snake's touch track. I don't dare sleep with you. As soon as I heard this, the little snake withdrew his hand in frustration. I heard the sound of water splashing outside. Bai Qingqing hurriedly went to the window and looked. I saw waves on the calm surface of the lake. You can faintly see a figure on the other side of the lake. Bai Qingqing lay on the windowsill excitedly. It must be Parker and Curtis coming. Come to think of this. He hurried out the door. The little snake grabbed him and said anxiously, "Where are you going?" Of course, Bai Qingqing wanted to get out of here. He was untapping the little snake's palm, quickly rushed out the door, shouted to Curtis across the lake. Curtis's vision and hearing all are far more than ordinary orcs. I heard Xiao Bai's call. His face was shocked. Immediately come to the lake. Unsure, he looked across again. I really saw that petite figure. His pupils constricted violently. I can't think about anything else. Immediately plunged towards the opposite side of the lake. If the partner and the child can only live one, how will you choose? As soon as Curtis saw Xiao Bai, and he could not care about anything else, immediately plunged towards the opposite side of the lake. The white crystal ship is really Curtis. Immediately get excited. But then I thought that there was danger everywhere in this lake. I was worried that Curtis would get hurt. If only the lake was just a stinger. Curtis with scales, as long as it's fast enough. There's also a chance to rush out. But how could the mermaid set him on fire like this? I saw Chin smile coldly. Brushing the ends of his hair, he said, "Curtis. Sure enough, you're here anyway. We've been waiting for you for a long time." With that, he raised his hand. The merfolk soldiers behind him took up arms, rushed towards Curtis in the lake. A fierce fight ensued on the water. Curtis guards against the underwater stinger, while dealing with the mermaids, bears, and beasts rushing up. It turns out that they have already set up an ambush here. Just wait for yourself. Curtis sneered. At that time, I really shouldn't have let those fish slip through the net. But he could destroy them once, and they will be able to destroy them a second time. Let's talk about it. The snake's tail curled up a huge whirlpool underwater. Vortex White Qingqing clenched her fists. The sweat that was already nervous was drenched in a large area. Look at the large number of mermaids. The bear beast cried at Curtis. I thought no. Curtis suffered too much in the water. He was hesitating to summon Curtis. Then he turned his head and said to the little snake behind him, "You go quickly. I'm going to summon Curtis. He'll kill you." The little snake shook his head firmly, "And I won't go. There is only one of me and him who can live. You choose." Bai Qingqing was stunned for a moment after hearing this. One is his own son. One is their own partner. Will I eventually lose a dream? And to this point, it's all your own fault. If you do it again, he'll definitely listen to Curtis. No more dealings with the little snakes, so that the little snake will not grow up to this. Looking at more and more stingers, and the merfolk surround Curtis. Bai Qingqing immediately made a decision. Although summoning Curtis over the little snake will be dangerous, but I can't look at it myself. Curtis died like this. Bai Qingqing only hesitated for a moment. Finally, he was ordered to leave quickly, seeing that the little snake still doesn't move. Bai Qingqing immediately began to summon Curtis over. The girl has a partner who loves herself to the bone, but she never knew how to cherish it. Bai Qingqing's line of sight was blocked. I can't see Curtis inside. Thinking about the danger in the water, she was ready to summon Curtis. As for the little snake, after all, it was his flesh and blood with Curtis. Bai Qingqing believed Curtis is not really going to be a killer. But when he was just about to summon. But I found that the lake was quiet. There is no trace of Curtis and the merfolk. Bai Qingqing was suddenly shocked. Thought it was too late. Curtis has had something to do. Seeing the love again, he strode over, laughed arrogantly, "Ha ha ha. Your Curtis officer is dead." He shook Kim's arm again. I want him to give an affirmative answer. The goldfinch looked at the lake with a serious face. There was no sound. Qin returned his brother with both hands. Bu has said to Jean that it is still the best for you and show. He never snubbed me. You just go down and see if Curtis is dead. Together with you, who is the most powerful in battle, he will definitely not survive. Jean reached out and took Qin into his arms. Say, I won't leave you. Since the recovery of Qin, the Golden Palace stood by Qin's side every step of the way, for fear that he would leave him again. The Sword Sutra didn't make any moves. Bai Qingqing thought that he had a chance to win. He confirmed his conjecture even more. People in times of great sorrow, the brain is usually blank. I can't think of anything else. Bai Qingqing collapsed and fainted. When I woke up again, it was night. Corpses gradually floated on the surface of the water. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward to take a closer look at him. It's all the corpses of merfolks, bears, and beasts. That's when he remembered. If Curtis is dead, the snake stripes on his legs will disappear with it. Immediately lifted the hem of the skirt and looked at it. I saw the familiar snake pattern. Bai Qingqing has the hope of the left and the right. At this time, Qin Eugene was in the opposite mood to him. Jean Ilian stared at the lake vigilantly. More and more mermaid corpses helped up the sword. Kim shouted loudly that they had failed, and we went. Bai Qingqing immediately applauded excitedly, which was too good. Curtis won. Parker also joins the fray. Bit off the mermaid's neck in one bite. The man used a snake tail. Tied his son in the air. Parker also joins the fray. Bit off the mermaid's neck in one bite. After hearing Bai Qingqing's voice, Parker quickly pricked up his ears. Look in Qingqing's direction. See that it's really him. Parker immediately stepped on the mermaid's corpse. Run towards the shore. Bai Qingqing turned around and pushed the back of the novel. You go now. Curtis will be here later. If you don't leave, it's too late. Seeing this, Qin on the side pointed at them. He said to Kim, and none of them wanted to leave. Kim, go and kill them. After hearing this, the little snake immediately blocked in front of Bai Qingqing's body, vigilantly on guard. At this time, Jean hugged his love, to prepare to leave. Love angrily pounded Kim's chest, yelling, you don't listen to me. Are you really going to let them go? Stop me and kill them. Kim didn't follow the piano again this time. He knew Curtis would be coming soon. Rebelled regardless of emotion. Quickly left with him. The little snake saw this. It was also a hard sigh of relief. Turned around and held Bai Qingqing's hand and said Xiaobai. Don't be afraid, I won't put you in danger. But the voice did not fall. Then he saw a huge snake with its tail rising towards the little snake. One rolled it up and tied it up in the air. Curtis slowly stepped out of the water. The cold eyes glanced at the little tongue. His body was covered with wounds cut by stingers. Bai Qingqing was very distressed when she saw it. He hurriedly stepped forward to watch Curtis. You okay? The wound doesn't hurt. Curtis shook his head. There were some minor injuries all over his body. It will heal on its own in a short time. See, Curtis is fine. Bai Qingqing persuaded him to put the little snake down first. If you have something to say, it's good to say. Curtis glanced indifferently at the little snake in the air. There was no sound. The little snake was strangled and clenched its teeth. The muscles are protruding all over the body. Feel the power of Curtis. I thought to myself, maybe in a few minutes. Suffocated to death. More likely before choking. It was pinched into 2 horses. That's what his father was capable of. He couldn't help but press his eyes. Xiaobai, my Xiaobai, can I still keep you with me? Seeing that the little snake was really about to suffocate, Bai Qingqing hurriedly broke Curtis's snake tail. Change lanes, Curtis. Don't ask you to let him go. The little snake is about to be starved to death by you. Curtis, I beg you. You let him go first, okay? Bai Qingqing had already burst into tears. And so on. The little snake is really going to die. Curtis pulled Bai Qingqing into his arms. Bow your head and show off the taste of a little snake. When I thought of the little snake fire, I was in one. Take your own life. Also snatch Xiaobai. The snake tail couldn't help but be another policeman. The little snake hurts. There was a heart-rending scream. Bai Qingqing immediately panicked. Hurriedly grabbed Curtis's arm and said, Curtis, I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened to you. I promise you, never to see the little snake again. You just let him go in last time, okay? A handsome red-haired snake demon walks slowly towards the shore. The tail of the snake is curled with a small snake. The little snake is the crystallization of their love, after all. Bai Qingqing asked Curtis, give him one more chance at the end. I will never see the little snake again in the future. Looking at the tears that kept sliding from the corners of Xiaobai's eyes, Curtis's heart ached as hard as he could. How could he be willing to let him suffer half of the grievances? The strength of the snake's tail gradually loosened a little, thinking that he loves his cubs so much. If you insist on killing the little snake, he's going to be sad for the rest of his life. And at this moment, Bai Qingqing finally figured it out. The little snake has to leave itself forever in order to live a life that truly belongs to him, and not to be a copy of Curtis. For the sake of Xiaobai, Curtis slashed the snake's tail back. The little snake was thrown into the lake. At this time, Parker also rushed over, carefully examined Bai Qingqing's body, seeing that he was not injured. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Don't kill the little snake this time. Already Curtis's biggest concession. And only this once. Sword Parker is coming. Curtis turned and went into the lake. Take care of some unfinished business. Bai Qingqing also exhaled fiercely. An unprecedented wave of self-blame and guilt welling up in my heart. If it's not yourself, the little snake won't go this far. Curtis won't fall for the mermaid's ambush either. Nearly killed. If only he had listened to Curtis earlier. How nice it would be not to meet the little snake. Parker held Bai Qingqing, softly comforted, and said goodbye to sadness. It's all gone. I'll help you see if the little snake is dead. With that, he jumped into the lake. But there was no trace of the little snake. It must have been run. See that the little snake is fine. Bai Qingqing also breathed a sigh of relief. Beckon Parker back. Seeing that Qingqing's clothes were all soaked with sweat, Parker changed him into a cool animal skin dress. I asked with some concern, you're not going to go looking for the little snake again? Bai Qingqing immediately returned to how possible. What I just said is serious. Never see the little snake again, even if you meet other little snakes. I don't admit it either. And the other side of the time, Jing took the piano to the stone cave deep at the bottom of the lake. Jean was packing up her clothes, while shouting surprise. Don't be stupid and stand there. Hurry up and pack your things and get ready to go. The man was abandoned by his partner for 10 years. After saying goodbye, he knelt down and said to the girl, I'm tired. Please shout while cleaning up. Don't be stupid and stand there. Hurry up and pack your things and get ready to go. Kim remained motionless, whispered a word, and didn't leave. Chin was stunned for a moment after hearing this, turning his head and looking at his eyes in disbelief. Then put down the hole in your hand. Stepped forward and grabbed Kim's arm. Coquettishly said that I was too fierce just now. Don't be angry with me now. Let's run away. The snake beast will soon be chasing after you. But what Chin didn't know was too late. At this time, Curtis was already slaughtering their elders. The old will soon be able to catch up with them. Now knows he's no match for Curtis. It's useless to run away now. And he put the information on the soft couch, kneeling in front of him and saying seriously, I won't go. You have no one else to command. Just the two of us. I'm going to be there for you. You can't deal with people you hate. So don't go. After listening to it, the black lines on Sheen's face were all over the place. Thought Kim was going to get him killed by Curtis. Just about to get angry. Saw Gene shake his head. Dismissed his idea. It was the first time Gene had seen Kim with such an expression. It's terrifying. The piano trembled. Hurriedly flattered me and said that I would not trouble Bai Qingqing. Shall we go back to the ocean? We give birth to a new group of little merfolk. But the whale didn't answer immediately. Leaned down and touched Gene's long, soft hair. Bow your head and whisper in his ear that it's not good. I was tired and thought that I would do everything I could to be good for the piano. But he still chose to abandon himself. The time Gene left himself 10 years ago. He was already heartbroken, and now he can find Gene again. His heart's wish with a bird these days are earned. With that, he immediately reached out and grabbed the stalk of Gene's neck. The strength of the hand is constantly clamping. Gene was strangled and unable to speak or breathe. I can only struggle desperately. But how can he be Kim's opponent? After struggling for a long time, still swallowed his last breath. There was a sudden silence in the cave. Kim slowly let go of his hand. With tears in his eyes, he kissed him affectionately. He said he would never leave the piano again. If the basilismos all look like this, are you still afraid of snakes? Gene Fu kissed him affectionately. He said he would never leave the piano again. Stroking Gene's face, tears rolled down her eyes. Kim opened his mouth suddenly. Two sharp fangs were exposed. A bite into the partner's better face. Choked and swallowed. When Curtis finds a cave in the water, this is what catches your eye. Blood-drenched images. A strong smell of blood permeated the entire cave. Curtis couldn't help but cover his mouth and nose. After swallowing the piano, he also broke his neck. The two heads snuggled tightly together. Shocking. Curtis didn't stay any longer. He turned around and left. Night falls. Bai Qingqing was squatting by the lake, teasing an in who had just eaten. Parker was on the sidelines washing their clothes. See Qingqing between the neck stalks. There are some wounds in the areas that are hidden by the hair. It should have been accidentally scraped when it was taken away by a small snake. Bai Qingqing didn't care too much. Parker saw this. I hurriedly went to find the herbs, put them in my mouth and chewed them. Gently apply to the stomach. Some distressed reproaches. Why are you so careless? You don't even feel the pain in such a big wound? Blame me for failing to protect you. Bai Qingqing hurriedly comforted. I didn't feel any pain. And Parker can't be blamed at this time. It's all your own responsibility. Parker took Bai Qingqing into his arms. Secretly vowed to protect him in the future. Can't let him get hurt anymore. Bai Qingqing also nodded happily. His head leaned against Parker's chest again. I heard the sound of rushing water behind me. Bai Qingqing immediately turned her head to look behind her. See, Curtis was slowly swimming out of the water. But because of the force, he tore open the wound on his neck. Bai Qingqing, who was in pain, cried out in pain. Parker immediately nervously stepped forward to examine the wound. Curtis subconsciously transformed into a human form. I wanted to see the white crystal sword. Parker had already preemptively examined his wounds. Curtis's footsteps froze. Just stand aside and release the cold air. Parker lifted the herb and looked at it. The wound was torn open. A few strands of blood oozed out. Parker said in a panic that it was bleeding. This kind of injury is certainly not worth mentioning in males. But females are different. It usually takes several days to heal. In severe cases, there will be scars. The woman is worried. How to coax the cold male god in front of you. Seeing that Qingqing's wound was torn open, Parker said in a panic that it was bleeding. He really wanted to put it Jingjing's wounds are transferred to herself. Bai Qingqing said thank you gratefully. Parker was immediately happy. I saw the two laughing. Curtis's eyes narrowed. Displeased, turned away. Said to the two behind him, "Don't go ashore soon." With that, he turned and walked into the house. The two people behind him also obediently followed. Bai Qingqing looked up at the sky. Suddenly said that, "Do we need to go home sooner?" There was no one at home. The leopards must be starving. Parker looked disapproving. "You're still hurt. I'll rest here tonight. The leopards are all 2 years old. Do not worry. Bai Qingqing is still very worried. I imagine them hungry. Look for the way your parents look. Someone in the tribe must have given them food. In fact, it was in the corpse castle of the tribe. The leopards are holding the bones that have just finished gnawing on raw meat, sleeping in a grass nest. The smell of flesh attracts a lot of flies. Mosquitoes focus on their noses, which are not protected by fur. Tickle them. The boss is woken up by a fly. Shook his head. I nibbled on the chicken again. Chew it, chew it. I tilted my head and fell asleep again. The screen turns. It's back to Bai Qingqing's side. Parker's birth interrupted his train of thought. Don't think about it. Not good now. If you go back, you have to have a hug, and you have to report it. I can't run fast. It's better to rest tomorrow and go home quickly. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to nod and agree. The two returned to the house. Curtis is preparing for life on the sidelines. Parker placed and on a nearby haystack. Put him to sleep. The firewood next to it was also lit by Curtis. The room was suddenly much warmer. Bai Qingqing sat quietly beside Curtis. The atmosphere became a little oppressive. He stole a glance at Curtis on the side. He shifted his body in Curtis's direction again. Reaching out and putting it on the back of his hand, he whispered softly, "Curtis, don't be mad at me, okay?" Curtis was silent with his eyes closed. Bai Qingqing stepped forward again and grabbed Curtis's arm. "Say I'm sorry. And thank you." Curtis didn't understand what he was divulging about. Listen to Bai Qingqing continue again. "Thank you for not chasing the little snake. I know if you want to kill him. No matter how much I try to stop it, it's useless. I just want to get a little snake to survive. A chance to live. In the end, I have to let him go. Thank you, you have feelings for him, too. I shouldn't have missed you that way." Curtis sighed helplessly. Said I was nothing but angry with him. There are no feelings. Don't kill him just so you don't break your heart. Bai Qingqing listened. One threw himself into Curtis's arms, happily rubbed against his strong chest. I was just about to tell him about going to inspect the city. It occurred to me that this would not work. Curtis's anger was not yet gone. I don't want to hide it, but at this time I want to talk about going to inspect the city. I'm afraid it will be counterproductive. He swallowed the words that came to his mouth again, quietly snuggled in Curtis's arms. Then I remembered something and asked, "Did you catch up with Jean?" Curtis nodded. Told him that he had eaten the piano today. Bai Qingqing was suddenly shocked. Monty Python curls a girl with a snake's tail, just about to swallow it in one bite. Curtis told him about today, the news that the piano was eaten. Bai Qingqing was suddenly shocked. I can't help but feel a little puppety. I actually ate it. Curtis patted his quilt. Explained, this is not surprising. Many males love their partners very much. Will want to eat their partner. Keep him forever. This is normal. Bai Qingqing shrank her neck in fright. Imagine Curtis trying to eat himself. Put it this way. Could it be that Curtis also has an appetite for himself? Seeing him scared like this, Curtis curled the corners of his lips, leaned over and comforted Xiao Bai. Don't be afraid. I just like you alive. It doesn't eat you out of appetite. Bai Qingqing just wants to end this topic quickly at the moment. Pointing out the window, he asked Curtis, "How are there no plants in the water?" Curtis looked at his sharp fingertips. Those plants were a threat to him. and it's too widely distributed. Originated from the use of these plants several times. Nearly hurt Curtis's vital point. Fortunately, there are only a few taproot tendons in this plant. Tear it off and die a natural death. Gone are those plants. The merfolk have nothing to fear. Bai Qingqing listened, immediately showed a look of adoration. It turns out that our Curtis is still so powerful. Curtis stuck out his tongue. Heard Xiaobai boast about himself like this. I couldn't help but blush my cheeks slightly. The red pupils were stained with a blur. He gently lifted Bai Qingqing's chin, leaned over and kissed it. Although it is good that there are no more cubs, everyone is also ready to be absent. But when the love is strong, it heats up. It's irresistible. And right now, Parker ran in with 2 bags of food, happily summoned Qingqing. Look what good food I brought you back. But just stepped into the hut. I felt the strong, ambiguous atmosphere of the two. Curtis glanced at Parker. A pair of snake eyes were as cold as brittle ice. Parker didn't notice it. Immediately throw down the food in your hand. Thunderstorming. Can be a second. He flew out of the hut, a distance of 108,000 miles. Time passes slowly. In the blink of an eye, it was the next afternoon. Parker is pitiful. Baba took him to lie at the door of the hut. The man stretched his waist in recklessness. Yesterday's displeasure has also vanished. The next afternoon, Parker was pitifully taking it in, lying at the door of the hut. It's not too early to see the sky. Then he turned and went into the house. Bai Qingqing from the secret snake tail. A hand was stretched out. Struggling a few times, he gradually crawled out of half of his body and asked Parker, "Do Pack and Anna." Parker immediately transforms into a circle. Pitifully said that he was sleeping outside. I kept a watchful night outside. Bai Qingqing slowly crawled out of the snake's tail. I looked at my body. His face was immediately stained red. Hurriedly told Parker to move his clothes. Parker laughed darkly. A restless hand was stretched out. Bai Qingqing pushed it away. "Why don't you go get me my clothes?" Parker had no choice but to do so. Carried it in back to the haystack. Removed the first skirt he was wearing. It was handed to Qingqing. Bai Qingqing saw the animal skin skirt. It was wrapped around An's body. It should be cold to dismiss him suddenly. I wanted Parker to continue to wrap it in. Saw An wake up. Stretch out your chubby little hands and grab them around. I guess I'm hungry. Bai Qingqing immediately turned around and changed her clothes. Took it in from Parker's hands. Prepare to feed him. But his stomach is at this time. There was a gurgling sound. Parker snapped at his head. Qingqing's last meal was yesterday morning. I'm going to be hungry by now. Immediately turned his head to Curtis on the side and yelled, "Hey. It's time for you to hunt the snake beast. It's cold today. I'll be warm later." Curtis slowly propped himself up, stretched comfortably. The mood is very good. Parker's rant was then ignored. He tilted his head and kissed Xiaobai's face. Then he turned around and prepared to go out hunting. Before leaving, he didn't forget to wave his hand to Bai Qingqing. "Wait for me to come back." Parker suddenly shouted angrily. Bai Qingqing is intoxicated. He touched the slightly cool side of his face. I thought that this time I had finally escaped. The man is pro-ancient and buys a house. Peerless. He stretched lazily. He tilted his head and kissed Xiaobai's face. Then he went out hunting. Parker stepped forward. I want to take Qingqing to sit on the bed next to her. This will be a little more comfortable for an inn. Bai Qingqing blushed and shook her head. Still not. The legs are wet. Don't want to sit and get the bed dirty. Parker tilted his head and pouted, whining aggrievedly. Immediately picked up Bai Qingqing again. I want to take him to wash. Bai Qingqing glanced at an in her arms. He didn't seem to have eaten enough. Let's wait until he's done eating before washing. Parker nodded. After agreeing to the unfinished inn, Parker carried Qingqing to the lake. The lake is cool in the summer. The surface of the lake is flooded with starlight. After slowly placing Qingqing into the pot, Bai Qingqing asked with a red face, "That mermaid last night is gone." Parker wiped himself for Qingqing. While returning, it may have been gnawed clean by some carnivorous fish. On the aquatic weeds on the shore, they still have their beautiful long hair. Looking at Qingqing in front of him, Parker's breathing grew heavier and heavier. The clarity in his eyes is also fading. He bowed his head and showed off the charming smell of Qingqing's body. It's very rich. The tip of my throat couldn't help but feel dry. The sweet taste was tempting to Parker. Just when Parker was about to take it anymore, he jerked his head up. I thought this would not work. He had to restrain himself. Qingqing was already very tired last night. He couldn't afford to burden Qingqing anymore. After a strong psychological and physical struggle, Parker finally finished washing Bai Qingqing, holding a herd of animal skins, trotted all the way back to the cabin. Looking at his back in the distance, Parker patted his chest. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Then he looked at it quietly. Parker discovered, it's a great place to live, tranquil and elegant. There was no other noise to be heard. It's going to be a wonderful place. It's just that there is no protection of the tribe. Too dangerous for females. This kind of thinking can only be thought about. If when no one in the world can threaten anymore, Qingqing's life is fine. The man looked down and thought, if when no one in the world can threaten anymore, Qingqing's life is fine. But it's also impossible. If only there were no carnivores. Qingqing, this glutton, I'm afraid I'm going to go hungry again. Parker was just about to go back, but he saw a red snake on the side, a vicious dog with a tail from the bottom. Parker looked at Curtis in surprise. I saw him roll up a fat prey. I am swimming towards the shore. There was a splash. Parker briskly ran towards Curtis. Haha, Qingqing can eat fatty meat today. Bai Qingqing was also overjoyed to see this. Who would have thought? A girl who has been eating lean meat for 16 years. After a few years in the thin thing, fat meat has become the supreme delicacy in my heart. Bai Qingqing immediately went out, running briskly towards the two of them. Curtis saw this little gluttony at a glance. Cat's mind. Tommy touched his head and said, let's go. He went into the house and took it in. Bai Qingqing found a wooden stick, squatted down beside the prey, raised his hand and poked. Look at how tender this prey grows. Bai Qingqing asked curiously, what kind of animal is this? Chubby for nothing. There must be a lot of fat on the body. You can make a lot of animal oil. Parker laughs and explains that it's a tree bug, squatting in the hollow of the tree all year round and only eating without moving. Of course I was obese. When I heard it, it was a worm. Bai Qingqing immediately withdrew her hand. Can you eat it if you hesitate? But look at this tree worm, has 4 legs. It's just shorter. It looks like an ordinary mammal. Parker expertly set up the fire. Of course you can eat this. There is no such thing as a female that the female does not like to eat. It's just too hard to find. They have been together for 3 years. I didn't even let Bai Qingqing eat it. Parker touched Crystal's head guiltily. Bai Qingqing didn't care. He smiled sweetly at Parker. Pick him up here. There are so many things that I haven't eaten. Follow Parker. I can always eat delicious new foods. So Comfort Parker doesn't have to worry too much. Parker lowered his head and kissed Qingqing's forehead. That's fine. Then he busily set up a fire. As the sun gets bigger and bigger, Bai Qingqing felt a little sunburned, so he prepared to go back to the house first. Parker turned his head and told him to hurry in. Don't get sunburned. And at this time in the house, Ananjing looked happy. playing with a wooden stick studded with light beads. Curtis looked at an end to the side. I thought it would be nice if it was my own hen. He won't have a legacy memory. He and Xiao Bai can be like any other cub. Love him without worry. A man bathes a girl in the lake. Both of them had a blush on their faces. Curtis was left alone in the house with an in. Curtis will be on an in's back. I thought I just needed a little bit of force now. This little thing. I can't let Xiao Bai worry anymore. Seeing an in Renren, he excitedly broke the light bead in his hand. The face is innocent. Curtis couldn't help but be stunned, seeing that he has no sense of crisis. So quiet. It doesn't seem to bring a dangerous look either. Looked at his little face that was somewhat similar to Xiao Bai. Is licking the light beads in front of him with a happy face. Curtis couldn't help but smile indulgently. Reached out and rubbed his silver hair. And then raised her eyes. Forget about the beautiful dad next to the show. He turned his head and played with his light beads again. Curtis saw that he ignored him. I wanted to tease him. So the snake's tail curled slightly. Took him into midair. And was a little surprised at first. Then they danced and cheered. Bai Qingqing happened to come in at this time. Looking at the scene in front of you. Busy white head said Curtis. You're going to make him uncomfortable. Curtis gestured to an in, who was smiling happily. Doesn't he look very happy? Bai Qingqing raised her hand and took an in down. Said that half of an An's body fell below. The weight of the body rests entirely on the arms and chest. That is, an An's goodwill. It's going to be a mess if you change to a leopard. Curtis Wan told him like Bai Qingqing. This is not even uncomfortable on the full moon night of an in 1 out of 10. Speaking of the night of the full moon, both were silent. Curtis reached out and touched an An's little head. Bai Qingqing finally made up her mind about this matter. He looked up at Curtis. Curtis said with a serious face, I want to take an in to Yinqing to find Vincent. By the way, an in will be cured. But the voice just fell. I listened to him. It was the sound of a snake's tail slamming against the plank. Curtis turned his head and didn't answer. But look at his darkened face. Bai Qingqing also understood. But he still didn't want to give up. And then he said, Curtis, I feel that something is wrong with an in. Vincent also worries me. Let's go to Yinqing. It's better than waiting without hope. To please your partner. The man caught a fat girl's prey and stepped out. Bai Qingqing wanted to take an in to Yinqing. It's better than waiting without hope. Curtis said disapprovingly, You're in danger that way. Bai Qingqing showed a proud face with you. Who can hurt me? Curtis was stunned, was amused by Bai Qingqing. A light laugh. Soon the face was replaced by a heavy seriousness. He sighed, touched Xiao Bai's head and said, There is a sky outside the sky. There is a beast outside the beast. I'm not invincible. The desert is a place I have never set foot in. You're too dangerous. I said I was going to kill an in. It's really murderous. I don't want you to be in any danger. Bai Qingqing's eyes were hot. Said as he tried to force back the tears in his eyes. But an in is like this. How can I bear to wait? Curtis's eyes darkened. I thought that being said, but I saw Xiao Bai because of one. The appearance of a long-lost young snake in pain. It shook him. And it is a little white and pregnant for October. It was born after a lot of suffering. Take care of it like a baby. In Xiao Bai's heart, it is far more important than the young snake. I can't imagine it. If you kill an in, what will happen to Xiao Bai? And Parker at this time, holding the freshly fished muscle meat. With an excited face, he ran towards the hut. But as soon as I entered the house, he was keenly aware of the change in the atmosphere. Take another look at Curtis's eyes at an in. Everything is understood. He hurriedly stepped forward and pretended not to notice. He said with a big grin, Let me roast the muscle meat. Go aside. If there's anything, say it quickly. Hold on a little longer. The muscle meat is not eaten. Bai Qingqing then stretched out her little hand, hooked Curtis's finger. With his big eyes open, he pleaded with him. Curtis tilted his head away from his gaze. It's okay to be helpless. Seeing that he really agreed, Bai Qingqing showed a look of joy on her face. Excitedly hugged Anin and walked back and forth. The two discussed and prepared to go to Yinqing as soon as possible. Parker on the side was also happy for Qingqing. But no matter how fast you are, you have to eat first. Soon the muscle meat was grilled. Picked out the bursts of fragrance. Bai Qingqing's greedy saliva was about to flow out. Curious why there is only muscle meat. And there are no tree insects outside. Parker laughed and explained that it would have to be roasted for a long time. No, you're greedy. I deliberately fished some river muscle meat. Let you satisfy your cravings first. With that, he picked up a piece of muscle meat. Feed it to Qingqing's mouth. Be careful to see Bai Qingqing eating with relish. Parker smugly asked if it was delicious. Bai Qingqing hurriedly nodded her head like a rattle. The two of them chatted while eating like this. The atmosphere is very lively. Curdy on the side. C is silently taking care of an inn. Bai Qingqing turned her head to see this scene. Hurriedly picked up a piece of muscle meat and blew it. Got up and fed it to Curtis's lips. You taste it too. It's delicious. Curtis took it. It's sweet in my heart. He nodded cooperatively. Bai Qingqing immediately laughed, ha ha ha. I didn't lie to you. And then saw this. He also stretched out his chubby little hand to taste it. But because he was too young to eat meat, Bai Qingqing handed him the chopsticks. And then took the chopsticks. Put it in your mouth and chew it. A golden light appeared in his eyes. This is the happiest girl I've ever seen. She had 3 fathers who doted on her, and a mother who loved her to the bone. The girl took the chopsticks. Put it in your mouth and chew it. A golden light appeared in his eyes. After eating and drinking, Bai Qingqing reclined on Curtis's shoulder, comfortably played a bag. It's almost time to go back. Pakti. Curtis took Qingqing and Anin first. I am staying. After refining the remaining tree worms into oil, bring it back again. Bai Qingqing was picked up by Curtis, turning his head and telling Parker to be careful. The oil in the pan is very hot. Then he left with Curtis. It didn't take long. The two returned to the tribe. Bai Qingqing began to call the cub from afar. But he called for a long time. I didn't see any response from the boys. I'm confused. The boys heard my call. I'm sure I'll run out to greet him. Nothing will happen to them. Come to think of this, I couldn't help but speed up my pace. Come inside the stone castle. Bai Qingqing pushed the wooden door open, happy to call the cubs. Mom is back. But what catches your eye is a mess full of houses. The ground is full of flesh and blood of all kinds of prey. It's emitting a foul smell. Bai Qingqing's face was suddenly covered with black lines. Angry teeth itch. Inside this house, Yanran became a slaughterhouse. Hug us and see that Mom is back. Immediately happily pounced on him, fluttering excitedly at Bai Qingqing's feet. If it weren't for the fact that the house was full of prey, Bai Qingqing, I really thought they had been greatly wronged. He clenched his fists, gritted his teeth. A few messy on-site makers. It's been a great time these days. Curtis also looked at the mess in front of him. He covered his nose in displeasure. It seems to be cleaning up for a while. So I was ready to put it in the bedroom first. After settling in, come and clean up the house. But when he lifted the curtain on the bedroom door, the scene I saw was as good as the living room. A strong smell of blood. Wrapped in the smell of urine, it sucked in. Curtis's eyes immediately narrowed in disgust. Withdrew. Bai Qingqing saw his reaction, curiously asked what was wrong. Curtis was silent, but the expression was gloomy and terrifying. The leopards couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He ducked behind Bai Qingqing. The girl found several wolf cubs under the bed. The leopards couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He ducked behind Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing saw this. He asked with a smile, "Is it that the cubs have made something wrong again? I'll take a look." With that, he was about to reach out and open the curtain. But as soon as he raised his hand, he was grasped by Curtis. Curtis didn't want him to see that. Bloody scenes. Fear scared him. Let Qingqing take it into play first. I'll be back later. Bai Qingqing saw his move. Suddenly, I was even more curious. He withdrew his hand and ran to the door. Want to find out? But when he opened the curtain and saw the scene in front of him, couldn't help but burst into a foul mouth. The leopard stepped forward in unison, holding Qingqing's thighs. The aggrieved sprinkled coquettishly. Bai Qingqing crossed her hands on her hips. Unceremoniously yelled, "Get out of the way. I'm out there worried that you're going to get sick hungry. It seems that you are all in good spirits. They also ate a room full of prey. I'm really worried about it day by day." The leopards were really angry when they saw their mothers, holding his leg and whimpering aggrievedly. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to bow down. "As long as you're safe." Then I started to get ready to start cleaning up. The leopards are also on the sidelines. The third one didn't pay attention. Stepped on a pool of yellow, unidentified objects. There was a strong foul smell coming from the tip of his nose. Frightened, he immediately yelled. Bai Qingqing kicked him away with a leg lift, thinking that this must not be his own son. Take a trip. The sons also lost weight all the way. He pointed in the direction of the doorway. Tell me to get out. Don't come back today. The leopards hurriedly stepped forward. Aggrieved, he hugged his mother's calf. Bai Qingqing immediately shook her legs. But they're like 3 dog skins that can't be shaken off. The plaster is general. Clung to his legs. Curtis on the sidelines is cleaning up the filth from the ground. Sideways glance at the tyranny on the side. The brow was slightly angry. The tyrants were all frightened when they saw this. Immediately, the cultivator ran out of the door. Bai Qingqing patted her chest at this time. After a long sigh of loss, "You still have majesty. They knew I couldn't beat them. Not afraid of me at all." Curtis touched his head dotingly. The two looked at each other and smiled. Then they cleaned up together. It's been a long time. Finally cleaned up the room. Suddenly the whole air felt much fresher. Bai Qingqing turned around and prepared to go upstairs to take a look again. Curtis stayed inside to take care of an inn. But as soon as I came upstairs, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but burst into a foul mouth again. The whole building was in shambles. Bandits crossed the border. It doesn't always work out. The experience of a child is unimaginable. Suddenly, I heard the cry of a small beast coming from under the bed. Bai Qingqing showed a face full of doubts, squatted down and looked at it. He just lifted the curtains of the bed. A few wolf cubs pooped, fluttering out from under the bed. Bai Qingqing was thrown aside, looking at the little wolf cubs in front of me. He clutched his forehead in pain. I thought to myself, hugging us, we were really having a party. When the domineering snake king becomes, what an experience it is to be a housewife. Bai Qingqing held her forehead in pain. Looks like they're having a party. Bai Qingqing shouted angrily, "Cub." The leopards heard the noise, immediately hurried upstairs, holding Qingqing's calves back and forth. Bai Qingqing's face was calm. As you walked, you said that you were really doing a ghost. I'm already angry. No matter how you rub it, I wouldn't forgive so easily. The leopards know they have made a big mistake. Tearfully hugging his mother's calves, Bai Qingqing was made to not stand firmly. Raise your voice and go back. Hurriedly shouted for help. Curtis immediately dodged forward, steadily dragged Qingqing's back. Bai Qingqing shrank tightly in fright. leaned into Curtis's arms. Curtis asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Bai Qingqing is one thing. Curtis immediately reached out to hug him. It scared the hell out of her. Curtis touched his head. The soft voice reassured that it was okay. "I'm here. Go down and rest first. I'll clean it up here." That's when it happened. Bai Qingqing's stomach was sudden. There was a gurgling sound. Curtis wanted to go and cook him something to eat first. Bai Qingqing said with a smile, "I'll cook it myself. Leave me alone. I used to make my own food before I traveled with you." "No problem." I thought to myself, making your own instant noodles is a must. See him so confident. Curtis agreed. "Tell Qingqing to shout when she needs help." Thereupon, Bai Qingqing came to the vegetable garden in the backyard alone. The yard is planted with several edible vegetables and ginger and garlic. They are all very vigorous. The cooktop has been remodeled by Vincent. It's almost the same as the earthen stove in the modern countryside. The ingredients at home are also ready-made. There are both dry noodles and dried vermicelli. It is very rich. Bai Qingqing decided to make bacon-stewed vermicelli. So he turned out the dry vermicelli, put it in water, and soak it first. Thinking of this loving fan. After Curtis tasted, "I'm sure I'll praise it for how delicious it is. Xiao Bai is really amazing." Bai Qingqing was immediately full of energy. It's time to show off your true culinary skills. He soaked the fans first, prepared bacon and shallots, ginger and garlic while waiting. It's just that this knife is too stewed. Bai Qingqing made a lot of effort. The bacon was also not cut. Unexpectedly, this iron knife looks like a modern kitchen knife, but it's very difficult to use. Looks like we'll have to wait for Vincent to come back and improve it. Let's use it first. He then scooped out the cooked vermicelli. Add green onions, ginger and garlic, and stir-fry until fragrant. I put in the bacon slices that were full of hardships. Then stir-fry vigorously. The woman is making a love meal for her partner. The vermicelli was also added with a seasoning flavor. Finally, it's the beautiful plating. It's been a long time. A bowl of fragrant bacon-stewed vermicelli. It's finally done. Bai Qingqing sniffed deeply. Add another vermicelli and put it in your mouth. It tastes spicy and mellow. The taste is very good. Immediately excitedly trotted to give Curtis a taste. He lifted the curtain. Happy to change to Curtis. "Are you done with your work? Come and try my craft." Curtis immediately turned and stepped forward. Thinking about cooking for so long. "I'm curious about what Xiaobai cooked." Bai Qingqing picked up a piece of bacon. Just wanted to hand it to Curtis's lips. The bacon slipped from the chopsticks and fell to the ground, and bounced a few laps on the ground. The two of them froze in place for a moment. Curtis doesn't boil the stone by the hawn. Bai Qingqing hurriedly explained, hee. It was just an accident. You try the rest." After that, he was ready to pick up a piece of bacon. Curtis stretched out his hand, gently wiped the stains off the little white's face. Wait until everything is wiped clean. Thinking that the room was also cleaned up, picked up Xiaobai and walked to the table downstairs. Bai Qingqing picked up the bacon in her hand. Explained that this bacon is made from the meat of wild beasts, so it's going to be a little hard, but it tastes good. You taste Curtis's doting nod. I opened my mouth and tasted a piece. Bai Qingqing showed a look of anticipation. I asked how it tasted. Curtis smiled and nodded. Yes. But don't eat it. Let's wait for Parker to come back and cook it for you. Bai Qingqing snorted in displeasure. Pick up a piece of bacon and put it in your mouth. Thinking about Curtis. It's obvious that you're disgusted that you're not doing well. It must be that he doesn't know the taste of food. 10 minutes later, Bai Qingqing was still chewing the piece of bacon in her mouth. He dragged his cheeks in pain. This meat is really hard. Ate it for so long. A piece of tendon is still complete. Stay in his mouth. Curtis asked quips. Haven't you finished eating yet? Bai Qingqing narrowed her eyes, swallowed the bacon in his mouth vigorously. Then he stretched out his hand and said that he had finished eating. Very tasty. See him so cute. Curtis couldn't help but chuckle. Then he reached out and rubbed his hair dotingly. Praise is really delicious. Bai is really amazing. To make your partner happy. The man praised the girl's cooking skills and good conscience. Soon after, Parker also rushed back with a full load of insect oil. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward to greet him. I saw that the mussel shells on his back were not tightly matched. Treeworm oil leaked all over the back. Then he commanded Parker, after putting the oil in the kitchen, go to the shower. He's getting oily all over now. After Parker finished putting the insect oil, reluctantly raised his head. Ben still wants to rub Qingqing for a while. Bai Qingqing is strong. He sighed in disappointment. I wanted to hug you. But that's not the end of the story. Then I saw Parker running towards the lake with a strong stride. As he ran, he said that I would wash it up right away. After coming to the lake, he quickly jumped into the water. As soon as I thought of washing it, I could hold Qingqing. His face couldn't help but be dyed with a touch of happiness. After taking a shower, Parker strode towards Fort Sheba. As soon as the leopard saw Parker, then he ran forward. Parker called out in bewilderment, but the leopard still avoided him from a distance. Back inside the house, Parker asked Bai Qingqing suspiciously, "Why are the cubs so afraid of me today? Is it because I look majestic today? After all, it's like a spoiled little milk dog." Threw herself into Qingqing's arms. Bai Qingqing stroked Parker's soft short hair, said with a smile because they were afraid that you would hit them. So Bai Qingqing will be violent. The slaughterers told Parker about their crimes. Parker was furious. Angrily yelled, I said, "There is a strange smell at home. See that I don't peel off their skins." After that, he turned into a bestiality, ran towards Bao outside the momentum. Hug us and see Parker's momentum. I was so scared that I ran away with a duck. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to sigh helplessly. One by one, it is not worry-free. That's when it happened. Curtis reached out and touched Qingqing's head. Bai Qingqing turned her head and said filial piety. Let's leave tomorrow. Curtis nodded in agreement. Glanced at the mischievous leopards outside the house. Bai Qingqing thought to herself, the leopards should not be brought. With their character, it would be safer in the tribe. I had to ask the team leader to help take care of it. So they found the team leader. Hopefully he'll help take care of the tyrants. After hearing this, the team leader agreed, of course. You are the king's companion. We'll take care of your cubs. You told them to come to my house every day to eat. I can still afford to keep a few leopard cubs. An eagle suddenly transformed into a handsome man. Just because the team leader promised to help Bai Qingqing take care of his leopard cubs. Bai Qingqing looked at the team leader gratefully, promised to return the food to him when he returned. The team leader hurriedly said no. The king has given us too much. This little help is nothing. So Bai Qingqing waved his hand to the patriarch. Then please, I'll call the cubs. With that, he turned around and left. But Curtis was still standing still. Seeing this, the team leader scratched his head a little nervously. Asked Curtis if there's anything else going on. I saw Curtis say with a straight face, "My main purpose here today is to find the team leader. Borrow someone to protect Bai." The team leader didn't react for a while. Stunned in place. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Curtis's arm. Say you don't have to. It's too much trouble. Now that we're home, let's go home. Seeing that the two of them were leaving, only then did the team leader react. Hurriedly stretched out his hand to change lanes, and the two of you waited for a while. Maybe I can help you ask your counselors. Bai Qingqing asked in surprise, is it really possible? The team leader grinned haha. Happily. Then the group leader will be young in the tribe. The bears and beasts have all changed. I would like to ask you all about your wishes. Bai Qingqing is going to the desert. Needs our protection. Does anyone want to join? All the bears and beasts immediately raised their hands in unison. I thought to myself, this is completely creating a chance for myself. Curtis glanced at the crowd, looking for the right person. Suddenly, his gaze rested on an eagle in the treetops. The beast on the beast was startled, immediately transformed into a human form. Feathers on Flofer's body, saying that we eagles can't fly into the desert. It's too hot. Our feathers will burn. It seems that I have to regret choosing someone else. Curtis pointed ahead again. He said, you come with us. Bai Qingqing looked along his fingers. The sword turned out to be Alva. He said happily that the tribe seemed to be called Alva. Know the way to Yinqing. Alva shook his head like a wave. Don't tell me I'm not going. I'm going to take care of Jasmine. The team leader saw this. Speak out to persuade Alva. Jasmine is my word. I will take care of him. You can help them lead the way. It can also be regarded as a contribution to the Tiger King. Alva looked up aggrievedly. Ben wanted to refuse, but thought about it. Still bowed his head and sighed and said okay. When to go? I'll prepare. Thinking about preparing more food for the house. The one in the direction of the sun. The fruit of the fruit tree should be ripe. Pick a bunch for Jasmine and come back. Otherwise, wait until you come back from Yinqing, and all the fruit of the tree is spoiled. You can't give Jasmine fresh food. Just as he was thinking, but I heard Bai Qingqing say excitedly, tomorrow. We'll leave early tomorrow morning. Alvaro was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground, turning into a human form and yelling something. So quickly, the man found 5 rivals on his own. It's just because Bai Qingqing decided to set off early tomorrow morning. Go to the banquet hall. Then Curdy. C also selected 5 of the strongest from the crowd. Choose orcs. Accompany you. The 5 people looked at Bai Qingqing. It's all excitement and excitement. Bai Qingqing waved her hand with them. Thank you very much. Everyone's eyes suddenly burst into tears. Excitedly waved at Bai Qingqing. Curtis glanced at them in displeasure. Picked up Bai Qingqing. He turned around and went back to the stone castle. See Curtis's face stink. I look a little angry. Bai Qingqing leaned on his shoulder and asked Curtis, what do you call orcs? It's not enough for 5 fights. Blood. Curtis coldly spat out 3 words from his mouth. Carrying luggage, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but smile. I thought Curtis was so cute like this now. Find a bunch of males yourself. Ha ha ha, Bai Qingqing wanted to refuse these people. Finch listened to Curtis continue. Your safety is paramount. I want to protect you with all my heart. It's hard to think about anything else. You can't say a word to the males, though. Your heart is too soft. Bai Qingqing shrugged her shoulders and said filial piety. Well, I'll listen to you. The 2 then returned to the stone castle. Gradually, night fell. There was a clanging sound from the stone castle. I saw everyone moving with great effort. Out of a huge baggage. Bai Qingqing finally understood at this moment. Curtis's decision. So much food and supplies. If you don't have 5 helpers, I really can't move away. He crouched down. Worriedly, he told the tyrants. The leopard cubs all looked at their mother reluctantly. The 3rd threw herself into her mother's arms. Reluctantly sprinkled. Jolly Parker acted as an interpreter on the side. The cubs asked when you'll be back. Tomorrow won't work. Bai Qingqing picked up the 3rd child in her arms. Tell him he won't be back tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'll be back. When I miss my mother, I look at the moon. Mom misses you and looks at the moon. We look at the same thing. It won't feel far away. The leopard boy looked up at the moon in the sky. Someone who seems to understand or not understands responded. The group was about to walk into the desert. They were greeted by unknown dangers. Before you go, Bai Qingqing instructed the leopards. The inner pillar in the tree hole near the leader's house. It's more convenient to eat this way. It won't make too much of a mess with the treasure lovers. So tonight, Bai Qingqing spoiled 3 leopard cubs alone, carrying them to sleep peacefully. Parker on the side. It is indignant and clenching on the animal skin. I want to be occupied by snakes and beasts on Mermaid Island. When I went home, I couldn't even grab my cubs. Jingjing Tianxin became more and more unaware of the fact that she felt sorry for herself. Early the next morning, several tiger beasts of arrow beasts are heading in the direction of lion treasure. Slowly, not yet close, I smelled a strong smell of meat. I saw Bai Qingqing walking out holding a bunch of porcelain bowls. Greet everyone to the tiger beasts early. Come in and have a bowl of broth. Everyone looked at Bai Qingqing in unison. There was intoxication in his eyes. I don't know if I'm fascinated by the beauty of females, or indulge in the milky aroma of food. Just when they were out of their minds. But I understood a loud bang. Parker slammed the broth on the floor. Unhappily, he said that he would eat if he wanted to. It's ready to go. Only then did the tiger beasts come to their senses. Immediately transforms into a human form. Took the porcelain bowl handed by Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing smiled politely. This trip is a long way. It's hard for you to help take care of the blessings. I deliberately cooked some hot soup. Hope you guys will like it. Everyone was just about to say thank you. But he was biased against Parker's unkind gaze. It scared them out of their heads. I almost crossed out the porcelain bowl in my hand. Immediately honestly buried his head and drank it in a big gulp. Curtis also walked out with an Anne in his arms. The crowd was about to get ready to go, seeing that Alva has not yet come. So Parker went and called him. At this time, Anne also woke up. He stretched out his chubby little hand towards Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing decided to feed Anne again. Wait until he is fed and safe. Parker had almost returned with Ava. After a while, all the people were here. Parker distributes the baggage. I would like to advise everyone to be careful. Don't break it. Then he tied the burden with a rope, tied to the bodies of the tiger beasts. When all are bundled, everything is ready, and they all set out together. Over time, before you know it, you are almost on the edge of the desert. Bai Qingqing raised her hand and looked ahead, thinking about Vincent. I'm coming for you. Have you ever experienced the exotic atmosphere of the desert? Imagine that. What it's like to ride a leopard in the desert. Bai Qingqing and his party have come to the desert border. It's been another long journey. Finally walked into the vast desert. The weather was very dry and hot. Bai Qingqing rode on Parker's back. He looked up at the hunter above him. Then he turned his head and changed the Curtis on the side. Ask him if he's hot. It's okay to listen to Curtis. He suggested that Curtis turn his tail into legs. Then wrap the leg in animal skin. That way it won't get hot. Curtis flicked his long snake tail. Said it's okay. If you don't need Bai Qingqing, you won't be forced anymore. Tell Curtis to heat up when he can't stand it. Call yourself. Curtis nodded obediently. Then the group walked for a long time in the scorching sun. Bai Qingqing only felt in a trance. I was a little dizzy from the heat. He immediately leaned over and lay down on Parker. It's good to take a break on your back. I fell asleep in a shaky way. In a daze, he reached out hotly and grabbed the wrapping yarn at the back of his neck. His fingers were burned and red. There was also a sizzling sound. Bai Qingqing woke up from her sleep in pain. Scratched fever. I don't know how long I've been asleep. I don't know what happened to Anne now. He looked behind him with some concern. I saw Anne being wrapped tightly in Curtis's arms. It's like a mummy. Bai Qingqing patted Parker under him. Let him stop for a moment. Parker immediately made a quick kill. Momentarily stopped. The white crystal on her body was unprepared. Fell off Parker's back. Headlong into the sand. Good thing the sand is soft. Bai Qingqing was not fallen. Instead, a few rolls in the desert. He immediately sat up. The whole body was red from the sand. I couldn't help but scream. Parkins immediately stepped forward, leaned down in a hurry, let Bai Qingqing climb back onto his back. Qingqing's skin is already delicate. This roll almost turned into a barbecue. He shrunk his neck in fear. Look at your hot red feet. That's when it happened. A pair of cold hands caressed his little feet. The coolness came with the tiptoes. Bai Qingqing was stunned for a while. The pain in the soles of my feet eased a lot in an instant. The man entered the desert alone. Find an antidote for her daughter. Curtis, with a cold palm, gently stroked Bai Qingqing's feet. Ask him if he's better. Bai Qingqing smiled and nodded. Say thank you. But he always felt that something was wrong. Something seems to be missing. Look back. The realm of Anan was thrown into the sand. Fluttering hands and feet began to scream. Bai Qingqing immediately shouted at Curtis. Pick up Anan. It's going to get burned. Curtis hurriedly stepped forward to hug Anan. Into his arms. Touched his back. Sure enough, it was roasted very hot. He turned his face guiltily. Looked at the angry Xiaobai on the side. Some blame yourself. Bai Qingqing looked at the endless desert ahead. The environment here is even better than theirs. It's even worse than imagined. Many really don't know what happened to Vincent. He came out alone for so long. I must have suffered a lot. Bai Qingqing's eyes sank worriedly. I wish I could find Vincent soon. A tiger beast in front of him immediately transformed into a human form. Step forward. A thick animal skin mat was laid on the ground. Let Bai Qingqing and Sazai. You can rest on the hide's hall for a while. Bai Qingqing smiled happily. Thank you to him gratefully. The tiger beast immediately blushed slightly. Scratched his head embarrassedly. His face was all capitalized with happiness. But I suddenly felt a beam on my back. Close to the gloomy Curtis Parker on the side. He immediately shuddered with fear. Weakly retreated. Bai Qingqing then raised her foot and stepped on the animal skin cushion. The sword lost the burning heat it had before. He immediately opened his arms to pick up Anan. Curtis possessed and handed Anan over. Anan has been yelling nonstop since just now. It seems to be a little uncomfortable. Bai Qingqing took him into her arms. Uncover the shirt on his back and look at it. It was gradually burned red. No wonder he keeps screaming. Bai Qingqing hurriedly leaned over. Gently blow on his back. It's good that it's just redness. Not burned. Curtis sat down next to Xiaobai. Thinking about Anan, he was burned like this. Isn't that little white? He immediately looked down. Sure enough, I saw that Bai Qingqing's feet were red. He immediately put the cold snake tail on it. Above the soles of Xiaobai's feet. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. The familiar robe came from the soles of his feet again. He looked sideways at Curtis. Curtis raised his hand and rubbed his soft one. Hair whispered and said, I'll help you cool down. Bai Qingqing immediately smiled heartily. His smile was infectious to Curtis on the side. The two couldn't help but laugh. Curtis nearly fainted in the desert. The cold skin is also getting hot. Bai Qingqing's smile infected Curtis on the side. C2. Kiki couldn't help but laugh. Alva in the air. Seeing that the line in the rear stopped, he also slowly fell. He asked Parker if he wasn't leaving. Parker waved his hand. Tell him to take a break first. Qingqing needs to eat something. Turn your head right and tell everyone to rest their luggage first. Take a break. Only then did the tiger beasts let go of their heavy burdens. Transformed into a human form. One by one, they collapsed to the ground. Straight out of breath. The skin all over his body was also sunburned crimson. Bai Qingqing saw this. Busy. Tell Parker to fill up some water for everyone to drink. Parker nodded. Then the heavy hydration bag was opened. The water was poured into the porcelain bowls. Tell the tigers and beasts to come and drink water. They immediately trotted forward. In this dry and barren desert, crystals are sweeter than honey. The crowd immediately gulped down. It is very refreshing. Bai Qingqing couldn't help laughing. It's really much sweeter than the water you drink at home. After Bai Qingqing finished feeding An to drink water, Parker walked up to Qingqing with a bowl of jerky. There is no firewood in the desert. You can only eat some cold meat. This is what I did last night. I'm afraid that it will be broken by frying. Put a lot of salt. It may be a little salty. You try it with jerky. Bai Qingqing smiled and nodded, reached for a piece of jerky and put it in his mouth. I chewed it carefully. Vaguely said, "Where is this cold meat?" "It's hot." Parker hooked his lips and smiled, "Ha ha ha. Baking through the desert is always hotter. As long as the meat is delicious." Bai Qingqing thought while gnawing. This meat is a piece of sodium that his bacon has. Swallow a mouthful of meat into your stomach. The cheeks are sore. It's simply the best way to slim down your face. However, the oil residue loses its crispiness at high temperatures. Soft paste greasy. It tastes good with jerky. Then he turned his head to see the tiger beasts on the side. A big hole is being dug in the sand. I wonder what they're doing. And I saw them leap into the cave one by one. Buried himself in the sand. Only half of the head is exposed to the ground for heat insulation. This will cool your body a lot. Alva stood by and was embarrassed. I thought I was buried in it, and it was ugly to die. But his feathers were sunburned and had lost their luster. Forget it. If it's ugly, it's ugly. Feathers matter. So he also went into the hole. The temperature on the feathers slowly cooled. Suddenly I felt a lot more comfortable. Bai Qingqing saw this, and he commanded Parker beside him, and put their fur skirts over their heads. Block out the sun. It just so happened that he was about to breastfeed in it. By the way, block the view. Kill two birds with one stone. Haha, Anan. I'm hungry, no? Parker Mary stepped forward and covered them all with animal skin skirts. After all the swords are covered, Bai Qingqing hid behind Curtis. Started to be Anan. Parker stepped forward and touched Qingqing's forehead. Ask him if he is sunburned. Bai Qingqing nodded, which was really a little. So Parker was going to build a canopy for him, so as not to sunburn him. Come to think of this. He hurriedly turned around and waved at Qingqing and waited for me. Right away. With that, he picked up the water hole and began to get busy. I saw him raise the pool in twos. Again in the water hole, a large animal skin mat was laid on it. Spread the mat around the perimeter again, anchored in a pile of sand. That's it. A simple canopy was done. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but praise Dow Parker. You're so smart. This water hole will not fall. Parker shook the pool. Tested it out. It doesn't matter. The mouth of the jar is sealed very tightly. Even if it does, no one will spill it. In this way, Bai Qingqing was at ease. I just ate a small bowl of jerky for more than half an hour. His entire cheeks were sore after eating. And also had enough to eat. He was taken into Parker's arms. After a while, when taking Parker to clean the dishes, Bai Qingqing wiped the beads of sweat from her cheeks. I thought it was too hot. He turned around and touched Moctus's snake tail. I saw that he was also beginning to radiate warmth. I couldn't help but ask Curtis, "You okay?" After a moment of silence, seeing that Curtis did not answer him, immediately worried, he reached out and shook Curtis's arm. Anxious, Dow Curtis. What happened to you? Don't scare me. Curtis, wake up. In his shaking, Curtis slowly opened his hazy eyes. Raised his eyes to look at Bai Qingqing. Said, I just fell asleep. Don't worry. Saw Bai Qingqing throw herself into her arms. I must have been frightened just now. He gently stroked Bai Qingqing's hair. I thought that Xiaobai could hold back. Yourself a male can't stand the words. That's too weak. Two men lay in the middle of a barren desert. Take on extreme challenges. Curtis's body was roasted by the desert and began to heat up. But for the sake of Xiaobai, he had to endure it. Bai Qingqing looked at Curtis in her arms. It is proposed to rest here for a while. Wait until the evening is over. Parker agreed. Although it is a little colder at night, but they don't feel cold when they run. Then he turned to the tiger beasts and said, "Brothers, we can continue to sleep. Wait until the evening and then hurry. The tiger beasts should be in good time." Thereupon, and they rested in the desert. There is no sun exposure. Curtis gradually relented, turned his head and said to Bai Qingqing, "Why don't you sleep too? When you fall asleep, it won't be so hot. It will be cooler to stick it on my 0 day." After that, he took an in Qingqing's arms, let him lie on his lap, looking at his sleeping side. Time passed little by little. In the blink of an eye, it was dusk. Bai Qingqing woke up and stretched comfortably. The sand on his body also fell. Some sand slipped into his mouth. Bai Qingqing immediately coughed, hurriedly spit it out. "I didn't expect there to be so much sand for a good night's sleep. It's a really harsh environment." The wind blows in the desert, and the sand fluttered up like dust at one end. Parker and Curtis are also the same sand. I heard Qingqing's cough. Both woke up at the same time. Parker rubbed his eyes and asked, "Qingqing, what's the matter?" Bai Qingqing shook her head. "It's okay." But when he lifted the curtain and looked, he was surprised to find that those tiger beasts were gone. "Look around. It's all a desert." Under the sand heaps that they were fighting with, suddenly there was a rustling sound, followed by a few heads came out of the sand. They were all gasping for air. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. Parker saw this, yelled at everyone. "Everyone has rested. The temperature has also decreased. Keep going. Tie all the luggage firmly with a rope. It's easier for you to drag it around." So everyone packed their luggage one after another, braving the moonlight and starting to hurry. Bai Qingqing looked at the tiger beasts hurrying ahead. "I really think like a pack of sled dogs pulling carts." Being stared at like this by a man and a snake, would you be scared? Bai Qingqing rode on Parker's back. Cerso hugged his body. The desert climate is really hard to fathom. Temperatures plummeted. Even the wind and sand became cold. He turned to Parker and said, "Parker, I'll give me a coat in the cold. The sword has been gone for a long time, and it should too. Hungry." Parker suggested that he stop and rest for a while. After putting Qingqing down, he waved his hand at the tiger beast in front of him. "Shout out to everyone. Stop for a moment. It's time for us to eat too. Come over here." Bai Qingqing hid behind Curtis. For the sake of NN. The rest of the recipients sat together in groups. "I ate jerky. This jerky looks small. It's actually huge. Enough to fill their stomachs." A tiger beast asked curiously what was added to this. "It tastes so good." Parker smirked. "A few spices are added to the meat before it is smoked. If you want to learn, I can teach you back to the tribe." Everyone immediately became excited. The atmosphere was very congenial. After feeding Anan, Curtis wrapped the white crystal. "Tell him to stay with the crowd and not run around. I need to leave first. Go with Ava to familiarize yourself with the surrounding sandy environment." Seeing that he was leaving, Bai Qingqing immediately reached out and grabbed his arm. "I want to go together, too." Curtis looked back and said, "It might be dangerous. It's better for you to stay in the team." Bai Qingqing pouted in displeasure, still nodded in agreement. With the passage of time, the night is getting deeper. Inside the calm desert, two figures were shuttling rapidly through it. "Observe your surroundings." Suddenly, both stopped at the same time. Curtis lifted his front body. "Keep your eyes on the front." Then he spat out a long snake nature, leaned over and embroidered. The second baby also turned into a human form and slowly landed. Said to Curtis on the side, "You found out too." The two of them looked at the ground in front of them. Curtis slowly lifted the snake's tail, aligned in a certain direction. Suddenly, he stabbed down. The sand suddenly loosened, sucking the snake's tail and sinking inside. Curtis couldn't help but be surprised. "I didn't expect it to be so sharp." Alva didn't see any clues. I thought there was no problem. Curiously, he stretched out his feet and poked forward. Want to try it? But when his feet just touched the sand, and immediately fell into it, he exhaled in fright, immediately struggling with his hands. The letter did not stand firm. Snatched forward with a thud. The whole body sank down with the sand. He immediately reached out and shouted at Curtis for help. Help! The man fell into the quicksand river. He struggled desperately. Reach out and yell at Curtis. Help! Curtis was also surprised. But it soon occurred to him that he needed Alva to lead the way. Can't let anything happen to him. By this time, Alva had fallen into most of it. His expression gradually changed from nervous to frightened. The speed of quicksand is very fast. In just a moment, he was buried in his head. Seeing this, Curtis loudly congratulated and said goodbye. The more you struggle, the faster you sink. Alva didn't struggle any further. The speed of sinking has slowed down a lot. He raised his arms and waited for Curtis to come to his rescue. Curtis threw out a long snake tail. A handful wrapped around his arm. Push hard, and they pulled him out of the quicksand. Alva is finally out of danger. He coughed hard. The sand in my mouth is terrible. But he didn't come to his senses yet. The fingers began to slowly sink down again. He was so frightened that he immediately turned into a peacock, flew into the air, nervously flapping his wings. Tiger beasts resting in the distance. Seeing Alva's tense figure, I couldn't help but laugh. Bai Qingqing also saw this scene. I wonder if Alva is okay. Parker couldn't help but wonder if there was danger ahead. Will it affect Qingqing? I saw Alva slowly fly low again. I guess it's fine. So he turned his head and comforted that it was okay. I'll ask Alva when he comes back. Bai Qingqing nodded. The other side at this point. Alva looked for it from afar. A piece of normal sand fell. The sword is not sinking. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. He slumped to the ground. When I first came to the desert, he'd seen a lot of moving sand. Because I'm in a hurry, I didn't have time to take a closer look. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. There's definitely something pulling me in there. Otherwise, how could I not have climbed out? I only heard Curtis come forward and say that it was inertia. The sand is flowing. Nature forms a force. It's the force that pulls you down. Alva looked up in surprise and said, Is there nothing in the sand? Curtis nodded. Ask him if he can see the quicksand during the day. A snake demon that is most afraid of heat. I never thought of it. One day I will go into the desert. For the sake of the partner. He patrolled the desert with Alva. Encountered the quicksand river. He asked Alva if he could see the quicksand river during the day. Alva thought about it. Back to daylight. It's hard to see things clearly. I only know that the closer you get to Yinqing, the more areas of quicksand like this. We'll have to let them know. But don't step into it. Curtis nodded. Then they left in the opposite direction of the group. Ava asked suspiciously, What are you going to do? Don't you want to go back? Just listen to Curtis's return from afar. There are predators in the sand. I'm going to find out one by one. With that, he quickly left. Alva was left alone, looking nervously around in the sand. I didn't expect there to be martyrs. Why didn't he find out? It's so dangerous around this empty space. Alva was frightened and quickly stepped forward, trying to catch up with Curtis. For the sake of the serpent beast, you saved my life. I'm barely with you. Wait, my sword is about to run out of sight. Alva immediately took on the form of a beast. Fly forward with Curtis. After a long time, the two returned to the team. Alva will encounter the stream. Everything about Shay was told to everyone. Parker immediately tensed. Busy pulling Alva. Ask him to take himself to check it out again. He wants to make sure that Qingqing is absolutely safe. Was stopped by Curtis. Curtis told him, There is no quicksand left at the site of the accident. He searched all around. This quicksand river is moving. Parker was shocked when he heard this. Wouldn't that be even more dangerous? No one knows. Quicksand river. Will it suddenly move to the time we are born? There was also a commotion in the group of tigers and beasts behind him. Everyone was worried about their safety. I don't know what to do. Parker raised his hand. Signal everyone to be quiet. The danger is not yet there. We can't mess up the battle ourselves. From now on, during the break, everyone took turns to watch it. The tiger beasts also agreed. After selecting the person who is the first to the first page, the rest of the people also fell asleep. Recharge your batteries. The woman travels to the desert in search of her partner. Night falls. After a rest, Parker lifted the curtain and shouted, "Brothers, we need to keep going." Although it was only a short break, but because it is easier to see quicksand at night, it is better to rest during the day. The martial beasts all responded in agreement. Then I got up and repacked my luggage. Parker glanced at the sleeping Crystal. I couldn't bear to wake him up. Along the way, Curtis held Qingqing. Be careful to hurry. The crowd walked from night to dawn. The sand was gradually scorched hot by the sun. Bai Qingqing sweated hotly, uncomfortable to wake up slowly. He looked up at Curtis, wondering how he slept in his arms. Curtis hooked his lips and smiled. You are awake. It was cooler last night. You also slept comfortably. It's all drooling. Bai Qingqing wiped the corners of her mouth in embarrassment. I didn't expect to sleep so deeply. I don't even know when they hit the road. I learned that Curtis had never rested. After returning from the inspection, I continued on my way. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but feel a little distressed. It's really hard for him. Parker saw Qingqing wake up. Immediately excited strode forward. Blonde hair. Against the backdrop of the sun and sand, it looks particularly dazzling. Bai Qingqing saw this. I couldn't help but praise his hair. Parker smirked, haha. Of course my hair looks good. Are you hungry? I'll go get you some food. Bai Qingqing nodded. Let's stop for a moment. It was too hot. Curtis hasn't rested yet. Let all be thirsty. Take a break and drink some water. Thereupon, Curtis stopped with a quick kill. Dust was kicked up. Parker quickly set up the shed. Alva also landed slowly. The red tiger beasts rested together. Parker lifted the heavy hide from Crystal's body. Bai Qingqing immediately exhaled. I felt a lot more comfortable. It makes people feel like they're coming out of the hot summer. It was as cool as a shade of trees. Anin also stretched out her little hand and slowly woke up. As soon as he woke up, he cried out loud from hunger. Bai Qingqing hurriedly took him into her arms and fed him. Unexpectedly, Anin didn't pull it on his body for the past 2 days. It was the luckiest thing on this trip. Then he turned to Parker and said, Anin, just leave it to me. Parker, go to bed now. Parker shook his head. Seeing that the sun is not too hot now, they can go a little longer. The two of them were shoulder-strapping in the desert, just as they were discussing whose warrior it was. Suddenly, half an hour ago, Parker saw that the sun wasn't too hot yet. Prepare to rest for a while before continuing on your way. He pulled out 2 pieces of jerky and handed them to Qingqing. Bai Qingqing noticed the scar on his waist. It should be a stone rope for checked luggage. He came out and reached out and gently helped him. With a distressed face, he asked if it still hurts. Parker shook his head indifferently and didn't hurt. Right now, a pair of small hands rested on his neck. Bai Qingqing looked up. A pair of thin lips slowly covered it. Parker was stunned. His cheeks were flushed. Bai Qingqing then leaned down on his face. Said that it didn't hurt though, but also take good rest and recuperate. You don't want to rest. I have to let those tiger beasts rest, too. How embarrassed to make them too tired. See Qingqing like this. Parker agreed. Looking at the endless desert in front of you. Bai Qingqing, I don't know how long it will take to make such a difficult journey. Parker's waist injury will also get worse. Vincent, who hadn't seen her for a long time, didn't know what to do. The toxicity in Anun's body has not yet been resolved. Bai Qingqing slapped her head. It suddenly occurred to me that Ava was not the guide. Just ask how many more he has. Don't you just arrive in Yinqing every day? Come to think of this. He immediately shouted loudly at Ava. How long do we have to get to Yinqing? Ava looked down and thought for a moment. We're going too slowly. At least 10 days. It's been so long to hear the mirror. Bai Qingqing counted the days. There are still 15 days left before An's next poison attack. It should be able to catch up. I wonder if Vincent has found the antidote. Are you in danger? When I was thinking about it, Bai Qingqing suddenly cried bitterly. Curtis Wanxing immediately came in to check it out. It turned out that he was bitten by an ate it for so long, but he was not yet full. The expression looked very difficult. It should be that there is not enough milk. Bai Qingqing hadn't eaten well for several days. He sighed helplessly. I would have known that I would have stayed at home for 2 more days. Come back after you get your body well. Curtis handed him a huge sack. Bai Qingqing turned her head curiously and asked what this was. The sack was slowly opened. Huge eggs poured out of it. Roll to the ground. Bai Qingqing's eyes widened in surprise. What an egg this is. Did you look for it yesterday? Curtis nodded. This is what he dug out of the sand last night. Only Qingqing was full, and it only has something to eat. Bai Qingqing immediately got up excitedly to get the porcelain bowl, thinking about how hot the sand is. Crack the eggs in a bowl and maybe blanch them. But when his feet just stepped out of the shed, there was a sound like barbecue. Bai Qingqing immediately shouted, retrieved his red-burned feet. Curtis stepped forward to check that the sword was fine, and he axed his head and said, I will go. A moment later, an iron pan was taken. Bai Qingqing raised her hand and carefully cracked the egg into the pot. Pushed the pan into the sun again. The temperature here was even higher than he had imagined. All of a sudden, the egg wash began to solidify. There was a sizzling sound. This was followed by a burst of aroma. Bai Qingqing thought for a moment. To Curtis, you think this could be an orc cub? If yes, how can there be one? An N has become the feeling of the beast's plate of Chinese food. Come to think of this, he couldn't help but get up. Curtis comforted and said, let's eat. Even if it's an orc egg, the cubs will be stolen so easily. I don't think it's strong. Don't worry about getting in trouble. Bai Qingqing was speechless for a moment. Who was worried about this? The point is that orc eggs are good. The man is the beautiful red-haired snake demon of the Green King. The woman is a sweet and lovely ordained female. He saw Vincennes for months without returning. I'm worried. And the other partners are reluctant to leave him. Go to Vincent alone. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to set off on her own. And they came into the desert. Frying eggs. It's just an orc egg. Curtis, of course, doesn't care. It's all food in his eyes. Bai Qingqing smelled the fragrance of eggs. The saliva is flowing fast. When I came out, I couldn't care about anything else. Immediately I couldn't step into the baggage on the side and took the salt. Wait to sprinkle with salt. The aroma of the whole egg is even stronger. He immediately opened his hands and prepared to eat. A unique and rich aroma envelopes his taste buds. Bloom in the mouth. See how much he likes it. Curtis picked up another egg. Hid in the pan. Bai Qingqing is strong. Stuck out his tongue and said with a smile, you still know me best. After eating 5 eggs in a row, Bai Qingqing lay comfortably on the water tank. If it weren't for the milk, he really couldn't eat that much. It didn't take long for it to really work. He hurriedly reached out and hugged an over and began to feed him. Seeing An's rare food, it was so sweet. He was so young that he had to go hungry with everyone. And the torment of blasphemy. Bai Qingqing blamed herself for not taking good care of him. Curtis reached out and took him into his arms. Comforted Xiaobai. Don't blame yourself. You've done a great job. He won't feel bad when he's full. With the passage of time, the sun is almost setting. Parker got up and told the group that it was time to go. The group braved the sunset and slowly set off. After taking away a while, Curtis pointed to his right and said, "Going higher. Avoid quicksand and desert beasts." In this way, the people avoided all kinds of dangers. Successfully walked into the middle of the night. It's time for a break. Curtis made up some prey. Grilled fresh meat for Qingqing to eat. A few days later, it was noon. The scorching sun grew hot. Parker turned his head and ordered to wait until he had passed the high hill. "We rest on the spot." But when resting, Bai Qingqing learned from Alva's mouth. They walked more than half the way. "Soon it will be there." Bai Qingqing said happily from an an in her arms. "An an, in a few days, we will be in Yinqing. You'll be able to see your father soon." In the past few days, Anan has obviously lost weight. The second small appearance looks more delicate and cute. In the middle of the scorching desert, water is undoubtedly the most precious being. Parker looked at the tiger beasts in front of him, turned around and opened a water hole and shouted, "Brothers." All of them came to drink water. The tiger beasts immediately surrounded him. See Parker so. Bai Qingqing was also much more relieved. Turned his head and continued to change sides to feed Anan. Anan pushed his hand. Turned his face to the side. It should be full. Bai Qingqing suddenly became embarrassed, thinking that the hugs are not there. He eats a few large eggs every day these days. Superlactation. It's really not good now. What to do? The key milk also contains a lot of water. In the desert, water is so precious. If you want to express any excess milk, it's a waste of life. That's when it happened. Curtis handed over another prepared omelet. Qingqing Bai Qingqing was busy and Bai Shou refused. He looked thoughtfully at Curtis. But under Curtis's strong dissuasion, he still obediently opened his mouth and ate a piece of fried egg. But when he finished eating, I turned my head sideways and realized that there were so many. I can't finish it at all. So he turned to Parker in the distance and shouted to Parker, "Come over here. Let's take the food and share it with everyone." Parker saw that it was an omelet. I want to give them such precious food. It's a waste. What is Qingqing thinking? When he learned that Bai Qingqing was eating too much. When the swelling is uncomfortable. This is the bright bird. I almost blamed him. Curtis listened. Tell Parker to give the eggs to the tiger beasts. Xiaobai will leave it to himself. Bai Qingqing was still ready to hold back. It would be nice to be happy in peace after a while, but under the constant persuasion of the partner. After thinking about it, I finally compromised. After an indescribable paragraph, the crowd embarked on a journey forward again. The man licked the corners of his lips unsatisfactorily. Then everyone embarked on a journey forward. The next afternoon, the group was resting. Bai Qingqing is the most beautiful tiger beast has ever seen, the most fertile female. So there was a lot of discussion. In the future, I will grow a female like him. Alva on the side listened, glanced at them disdainfully. Concubines are not good. It's beautiful to think about. That's when it happened. I saw that the luggage beside me suddenly went to the sand underground line. It's the quicksand river that came. Alva hurriedly jumped up. Pull the rope on one end of your luggage. But because of the disparity in power, in the blink of an eye, he was pulled by the rope and fell to the ground. The tiger beast saw this, immediately rushed forward and pulled up the rope together. Only then did it stabilize a little. There is no downline. The rope is very heavy. Everyone worked together. I didn't pull it up at all. Bai Qingqing saw that something seemed to be wrong on the side of the tiger beast in the distance, hurriedly called Parker up to help. Parker immediately rushed over. Seeing so many people, they didn't pull their luggage up. So I joined the team. Pulled up together. Alva soared. The quicksand river is moving in their direction. If it's too late, they won't be able to get out. Curtis was out hunting again. Alva's sword couldn't pull his luggage for a long time. and turned into a beast. Decided to go and unpack the outside first. Now it is one to be able to save one. Although the last time he encountered the quicksand, there was no danger. But facing Alva again was still terrifying. And the ropes were tied directly to the bag. If the rope is broken, the food in the sand will never be recovered. You can only break your luggage, shrink the baggage, then pull it out and out of the rope. Alva thought about it. I secretly cheered myself up in my heart, flew forward and scratched the animal belt, successfully transported the luggage out. He went back and forth, and he successfully dropped 2 luggage. The rest was buried too deep in the sand. He was incompetent. For strength, you can only rely on everyone to pull it up. That's when it happened. Curtis, who had finished the hunt, just in time to return. Parker meets Curtis. Immediately shouted at him, "Hurry up and help. The rope is breaking." The man turned back and gave the girl a reassuring look. Then he jumped into the quicksand river. Curtis stepped forward and pulled the rope in. Stop the crowd from pulling. Parker asked unhappily, "Hey, Curtis, what do you do? If you don't help, forget it. Don't mess around." Before the tiger beasts, you can also feel the force on the other side of the rope. But now the rope is fixed at one point. I only heard Curtis say lightly and let go. Let me come and look at each other after hearing this. I thought of a snake beast that didn't even have a beast pattern. Can you really do it? Usually probed by Qingqing's face. I didn't feel bad. But this snake beast is inevitably too arrogant. None of the 7 of us were able to pull out our luggage. Is it possible with a stripless snake beast? Bloody Sword Parker let go of his hand in cooperation. Turning to the tiger beasts, "Don't worry. Leave it to Curtis." The tiger beasts nodded. Loosen the rope. I saw Curtis standing firmly in place. The rope is only a very slow line into the quicksand. There is not the slightest sign of pulling. Parker looked closely. Only then did I realize that the direction of the quicksand river was wrong. Anxiously said that the quicksand was coming. "Curtis, be careful." I saw Curtis's arm force slightly. The luggage was quickly pulled out of the quicksand. The tiger beasts on the side were suddenly shocked. A rope that none of the 7 bears can pull. But it was easily pulled out by this snake beast. Curtis explained. The reason why you can't pull the rope is that it's not that there's not enough strength. On the contrary, it is too much strength. Quicksand has a force of inertia. When pulled raw, he will be as solid as the ground. And you follow his movements. Inertia slowly makes the force work harder, but it can get twice the result with half the effort. The tiger beast slapped its head. It suddenly dawned on me. Curtis pulled back hard. The luggage was pulled out smoothly, thrown aside. After everyone can see the other end of the rope, only to find out that the rope was broken. There's only 1 pack of food left. Curtis reached out and picked up the severed end to look at it. There was still blood on the sword. It's torn off. It looks like there are orcs underneath this quicksand. Alva immediately transformed into a human form. I thought to myself, could it be the orcs who have been swallowed up by quicksand? If you were swallowed up by quicksand at that time, do you have to live under the sand? It's scary to think about. Parker bowed his head and showed off carefully. This blood is the smell of a male beast, but there is also the smell of wolves on it. It's like 2 orcs fighting for food. Parker looked sideways at the waterhole behind him. There was not much luggage left. Thankfully, the waterhole wasn't tied to a rope. It's even worse if the water runs out. Curtis turned to the tiger beasts and said, "Tiger beasts, you can go back. Now the food has been lost. We'll take care of the rest." The tiger beasts nodded. I was packing my luggage. Qingqing saw this. "Come and say goodbye to them. Thank you for their help during this time." The tiger beasts were suddenly in front of them. The eyes of the cute little magnetic fan are full of hearts. Reluctant to leave. But under Parker's obscenity, I had no choice but to leave sexually. Bai Qingqing will be another pool. The water was given to the tigers and beasts to drink on the way, at their speed. It takes up to 3 days to return to the tribe. After saying goodbye to them again, the tiger beasts officially embarked on their journey back to the tribe. Parker tucked away the pool, sighed helplessly. Now even the tent is not stable. Alva slowly fell. Urge everyone to hurry up and leave this quicksand. Curtis and Parker walked in the direction of quicksand. I'm going to go down and check it out. Bai Qingqing listened. Immediately lift the curtain and change lanes. Are you going down the quicksand river? It's also too dangerous. Curtis pulled out the rope. Say to Parker, come and hold on to the rope. I'll climb up on my own later. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward to stop it. I don't know what's going on under the quicksand. It's too dangerous to go down in a hurry. Curtis turned his head and gave him a look of reassurance. Then one jumped down the quicksand river. Bai Qingqing also wanted to stop it, but it was too late. This is the most unreasonable request I have ever seen. The woman asked someone to carry him up into the air. Fall down again. Bai Qingqing also wanted to stop it, but it was too late. I was also in a hurry to run. Accidentally fell. Parker hurriedly handed the rope to Alva, stepped forward and helped Qingqing up. After carrying him back to the tent, carefully examined his sprained ankle. That's when it happened. Just hear Alva yelling loudly, hey. Oh no, the quicksand river is going to disappear. Bai Qingqing disappeared when she heard this. I was so anxious that I kicked forward. I'm afraid Curtis won't be able to come back. Then it occurred to him that he could summon Curtis back. Immediately looked at his beast text. Silently muttered it in my heart. Come out. But no matter how he summoned him, he didn't see Curtis return. He was also in a hurry to use Parker's power. At this moment, he was dizzy and fell into Parker's arms. It seems that only in thrilling times. To summon Curtis back. After Bai Qingqing adjusted her mentality, tell Parker to go to the quicksand mouth and wait to see what happens. Parker nodded, came to Alva's side. The sword quicksand river is gone. He reached out to pull the rope up to take a look. Bai Qingqing was busy with her birth and interrupted to say goodbye. What to do if the rope breaks again? Maybe following the rope will dig Curtis out. Parker nodded, immediately transformed into a beast form. Running up the ground was full of dust. Bai Qingqing coughed up by the wind and sand gun. Alva saw this, stepped forward to block the wind and sand for him. Parker's speed is very fast. It didn't take long for a big hole to be dug out. Then I heard the sound of the wind. Alva turned his head to look. Parker was nowhere to be seen. Bai Qingqing also turned back nervously. What catches your eye is an empty desert. The two immediately stepped forward to check. Alva thought. Parker was buried in the sand he had dug himself. Thinking he's right next to the rope. Pulling the rope out might pull him out with you. He tugged at the rope. Found a weight under the rope. Definitely Parker. So he pulled it up hard. Bai Qingqing also stepped forward to help, thinking about getting Parker out first. But when the two of them pulled hard, the rope suddenly loosened. Both fell backwards at the same time. Bai Qingqing assisted her head that hurt a little. Thinking about the weight just now, it must be Parker. But why did he suddenly let go? Could it be that he was attacked by someone from below? Wrong. If Parker does end up in a place where there are orcs, that Curtis must have been there. He wouldn't leave Parker's alone. Could it be that Parker was buried in the sand and suffocated? Come to think of this, he couldn't help but burst into tears. Alverden was in a hurry. I don't know how to comfort her. Hurriedly said, don't cry. Waste more water. Bai Qingqing grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at him. You roll. Alva stood obediently in place. Say I'm sorry. Bai Qingqing wiped her tears. Thinking about crying doesn't help. Now the partner is gone. It's all on your own. Since you need to be thrilling to summon Curtis. Then he turned to Alva and said, you take me to the sky. I want to jump from the sky. Alvith was shocked. What are you doing? You are crazy, but you see Bai Qingqing's face is firm. That's the only way to get thrilling. Man holding a peacock. Rescue the girl in the air. Half an hour ago. Bai Qingqing begged Alva to take him high into the air. Jump down again. See that he does not agree. Bai Qingqing grabbed his hand and whispered urgently, I beg you. It's too late. Only Curtis can save Parker. Alva shook his head anyway. Call that too dangerous. But at this time, Bai Qingqing, I can't care so much anymore. And he believed in Alva. You can definitely protect yourself. This method of agitation was very useful to Alva. He immediately patted his chest and reassured him that it was okay. I'll be sure to catch you. With that, he took on the form of a beast. Carrying Bai Qingqing flew into the sky. Then spread his wings. After Qingqing grasps on, he snorted, quickly speeding up into the air. See that the height is about the same. Alva turned his head and asked, Are you ready? Bai Qingqing looked at the air hundreds of meters in the air. I couldn't help but swallow. In the end, I gritted my teeth. He took a deep breath and nodded. Then kick your foot. He jumped off Alva, shouting for help. Alva was close to him. Protect him. Bai Qingqing tried to start summoning Curtis. But no matter how he summoned him, he didn't respond. I thought I'd really fall to my death if I went on like this. That's when it happened. I heard a loud bang coming from under the desert. Curtis jerked out of the ground. Reach out your hand to the music in the air, firmly wrapped around Qingqing's waist. The other hand. It was a peacock claw that grabbed Alva. Alvakin shouted. However, he couldn't break free from Bai Qingqing. Curtis. Nako's hanging heart immediately sank. A handful threw himself into Curtis's arms. You've finally shown up. That's great, Curtis. Help, save Parker. He's going to die if he's buried. Right now. Parker's figure emerged from the sand. He shook his head, spat out the sand in his mouth. Then the atmosphere turned around and shouted, I'm finally going to dig to the end. Why did you whip the rope for me? But when he took a closer look, only then did he suddenly realize that there was no one around. Until the sound of Alva flapping his wings was heard. Only then did he look up, wondering how Qingqing could be in the sky. By Qingqing a sword. Parker was so excited. They're all right. The man investigates beneath the vast desert. There's a moving world hidden. When they come back from their investigation, seeing that they were all right, Bai Qingqing suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. So good. Curtis let go as well. The peacock landed steadily to the ground. It stirred up a lot of dust. After Bai Qingqing landed, she hurriedly ran towards Parker. Parker at this time also crawled out of the sand completely, looking at Qingqing happily. Seeing Qingqing, she threw herself into her arms. Parker looked down and asked what was wrong. Bai Qingqing choked. 2 tears slipped from the corners of his eyes. He thought he would never see them again. Parker stroked Crystal's hair, reassuring that it was okay. You have to trust that we're going to be fine. After chatting for a while, the people went back to their tents to rest. Bai Qingqing then remembered to ask Parker, You're obviously pulling the rope at first. Why did you suddenly let go again? I thought you were dead. Parker scratched his head, laughing. Don't you know how to look at animal patterns? Bai Qingqing was too anxious at the time. I forgot about it for a while. All he wanted was to get Parker out as soon as possible. Parker teased. When Curdy tore it off just now, do you remember reading the beast text? I forgot how to change it. It's obvious that you're too stupid. I pulled the rope. I just don't want you to pull the rope out. Later, I found that I couldn't hold it and let go. But when you pull it away, by the way, I estimated the remaining length of the rope. Keep digging. After learning about it, Bai Qingqing then asked, Did you dig anything? Parker shook his head. Turning around, he asked where Curtis had gone. I dug for a long time and didn't dig him. Curtis began to recall. When I went down by myself, the quicksand river was very deep. The length of the rope is completely insufficient. He let go of the rope halfway through, so Parker can't dig him. Bai Qingqing wondered after hearing this. That's how our food was just now. Took it away. Curtis gestured with his hands. Explained that it was because the world below was also moving. I went down and didn't smell the orcs on the rope. When everyone heard this, they were shocked. Listen to Curtis go on again. The world below is Yinqing. We've arrived. Bai Qingqing's mouth suddenly opened wide in surprise. I didn't expect Yinqing to be underground. Still mobile. The woman and Ing were also put into a leather bag, brought to the underworld. When Bai Qingqing and his party, after learning that under the quicksand river is Yinqing, so he decided to go directly through the quicksand river. It took half a day. Finally found a new quicksand river. Curtis took out the hide and wrapped the crystal. After saying goodbye to Alva again, he hugged Qingqing and walked towards the quicksand river. Parker hasn't had time to prepare. Was hooked by the sudden snake's tail. Straight down the quicksand river. It's very dark down there. There is not a glimmer of light. Curtis blew the leash very loose. Leave enough space for Qingqing. After a while, it landed steadily. The white crystal grain boundary was silent. Then he opened his mouth and asked, "Have you arrived?" Curtis grabbed his hand and scratched it. Motioned for him to remain silent. Bai Qingqing hurriedly covered her mouth. Beneath the quicksand is a dark world. It has access in all directions. This quicksand takes them to the center of the tunnel. Sweat all around. The smell of blood and decay. It's very muddy. A four-man beast stepped forward and asked you. We brought this letter. Parker looked at the scene in front of him. As soon as I thought about it, I met a four-piece beast. But he still replied without showing weakness. What's your business? Sven Show suddenly roared angrily. A layer of murderous aura ignited around his body, and he commanded them to be killed by those who were behind him. Don't let any of them go. There must be magnetism in their animal skin pouches. Curtis and Parkton also burst out with a murderous aura of spiritual power, spread in all directions. Sven Beast suddenly felt a terrifying slight pressure. He said with some concern, I can't even remember how long it's been since I've touched magnetism. If you have magnetism, even orcs coming down from above, I wouldn't care either. It's worth tasting a female before you die. Bai Qingqing and her arms listened. I couldn't help but shrink back. I thought they had met an outlaw. Parker gritted his teeth and glared ahead. It seems that these four beasts should be Vincent, the often-mentioned rootless beast. The rootless beast has no sense of loyal companionship and hates females. Retaliating treats females as playthings. Look at the orcs around you. All of them have a heavy force on them. Lifeless. There is no desire to survive. Like a bunch of walking dead. This kind of victimization is the most terrible. They are not afraid of life and death, and they have nothing to fear. No one knows what they're going to do. But this one, Svenmon, it seems that there is a fear of people who come down from above. So Parker waved his hand and said, haha, how could we possibly have females? Females are so delicate. If they had really taken them, they would have fallen out a long time ago. How can it be so quiet? Sven will be suspicious after listening. Doubt just that. The female voice may have been misheard. Then he sighed and said, actually, I'm tired of it. Mining are all day and night. Unknowingly, they have become four literal hands. The ore I have accumulated will be able to get me out in no time. But what's the point of going out? I just want to catch a very beautiful female. Let him bury me with me. Bai Qingqing's eyes widened in horror after hearing this. The man bent over the girl and smeared it with dirt. Cover up the breath for him. Parker told everyone. They came from above. The rest of the people did not dare to come forward and provoke them. See their status. They should all be locked up here for mining. Parker didn't expect Yinqing to make iron. And the battle is quite big. The foreman stepped forward and asked what they were here for. Parker said, gesturing at Curtis behind him. This is the rootless beast I encountered on the way. He wanted to come to Yinqing. Curtis's face darkened as soon as he heard this. Parker felt a chill behind him, hurriedly pulled Curtis forward and strode away. When they passed by the four-winged beasts, just listened to him disdainfully. When will the snake beast also need to come to Yinqing? Shouldn't all snakes and beasts be used to not having a partner? Let's talk about it. He laughed uncontrollably with the orcs beside him. Kurdiston's murderous sage. There was a terrifying micro-pressure around him. Even Bai Qingqing in her arms could feel it. He's going on a killing spree. Blindly, he patted Curtis's chest, hinting at him to dissipate. Don't bother with them. Curtis then restrained his murderous aura. Walk forward with Parker. The orcs behind him were frightened. Discoloration. I almost thought they were going to die. Wait until they leave. Sven was carefully put on a show. Smelled a sweet female smell. I'm sure they must have taken the female with them. So he turned his head and commanded to follow them. It didn't take long. Curtis and Parker came to a place. No man's land. Looked at Qingqing, who had been wrapped in her arms for a long time. He forgot to look around. After making sure there is no one else, Curtis put Qingqing down. Lifted the heavy hide. Bai Qingqing hurriedly poked her head out. Take a big gulp of fresh air. Curtis gently wiped the sweat from his forehead. Water Xiaobai. The dream is broken. Bai Qingqing shook her head. Call yourself okay. Parker behind him patted the stone wall and said, Hey. The orc just now must have been able to smell it. The taste of crystal. You quickly masked the smell of crystal. So Curtis grabbed a handful of dirt from the side. Gently wiped it on Bai Qingqing's body. Covered the smell of his body with a harsh eye. Bai Qingqing's cheeks were stained red. Don't look around and say there's no need for this. Behind him, Parker looked at the scene in front of him depressedly. I really want to beat Curtis up. That's when it happened. He suddenly felt a chill coming from behind him. Bai Qingqing hurriedly shouted Parker. Be careful that Parker immediately leaned sideways. Flexibly jumped to the side. Apparently dodged Sven's fatal blow. For when Beast suddenly glared angrily, there was an earth-shattering roar at them. The woman was carried into the cave by the serpent. I even encountered a corpse beast. The corpse beast roared at them. After Parker took a closer look, only to find out, this wasn't the Sven corpse beast they had encountered before. Presumably, I should have lived in this neighborhood. Met them unexpectedly. Curtis calmed Qingqing. Let him rest on the side first. I turned around. He glanced at the corpse beast that was coming towards him behind him. Just listen to the snap. A huge snake tail slammed towards the corpse beast. Curtis is relentlessly delusional about sure show. The tall and mighty body stood in front of everyone. Just listen to the loud sound of the wind. The poet beast was slammed into the stone wall. Blood gushed out of his mouth. After a while, he landed on the ground with difficulty. The limbs trembled uncontrollably. The hunter glared ahead. The paw stepped forward. He took a step and looked at Parker and Bai Qingqing. A roar was sent at them. Just ready to pounce. I felt a chill behind me approaching my heart. The corpse beast froze in place. I'm afraid that one will accidentally explain here. Hesitated for a moment. He immediately jumped off into the distance. Stick to the stone wall. Turn around. Say in your heart that you can't see me. Can't see me. There is a cave in the distance from the Curtis. That's when Parker noticed. This cave is not big. In the depths of the stone wall. It's very secretive. Curtis held Qingqing to the side. Ask him if he's better. Bai Qingqing nodded. It was very uncomfortable to be covered by animal skins before, but now it's all relieved. Parker came to the entrance of the cave. Beckoning to everyone, this move is really hidden. Let's stay here. Curtis picked Qingqing up, nodding in agreement. The corpse beast on the side listened. Still timidly walked over. Parker clenched his fist and warned him not to roll again. I'll bite you to death. The corpse beast immediately lay on the ground, trembling with fear. But I still opened my mouth aggrievedly and begged you. Don't kill me. I don't want this hole. Please give me back the ore inside. Parker looked around, pointing to a stone in the corner that shimmered with purple light. Asked if it was the one. The corpse beast immediately nodded. Yes, yes. That's it. Can you please give it back to me? Parker picks up the ore. He put it in his hand and looked at it carefully for a moment. Sure immediately nodded his head like a wave drum. Please, uncle. That's it. What it's like to anger a snake king. Sure immediately nodded his head like a wave valley. Ask Parker to give him back the ore. Parker lifts the ore. I looked at it carefully. Could it be that this ore has any special use? Thinking about the spar he found in the tribe. It's just a different color. I heard Sure say again. We're below. Food and river water are all exchanged for this ore. Save 1,000 and leave this place. Parker suddenly got up. The corpse beast on the side was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Parker brought Guangshi to Qingqing. Asked him what he means. Bai Qingqing smiled and nodded at him. Motioned for him to return. Only then did Sure carefully see Bai Qingqing's appearance. Immediately excited eyes lit up. Changed to a beautiful magnetism. Curtis's body. Suddenly a terrible flame ignited. With a dark face, he looked at the corpse beast in front of him. The corpse beast's frightened hairs stood on end. Tearful plea to you so much. A lot of, or will definitely be found soon. Give me back these few. Parker leisurely tossed the ore in his hand. This ore can be exchanged for food and water. Looks like you're doing well down there. Sure stared at the ore tightly. It's really better off at the bottom than at the top. But store 1,000 ores. It's still very tough. It's nice to have a successful exit in 10 years.